Chapter 2037. Speaking of which, the Imperial Palace had such a huge incident, and the Overlord had specially come over. Among the crowd, there were many young ladies and women. After hearing those few small powerhouses' words, they immediately cupped their faces as their hearts rippled with love. Nothing is more important than my own wife in this world. A peerless man. Such a man. Why can't I meet him? The subtext was, such a good man. It wouldn't be too much even if you gave me a dozen. There were many present who didn't know about the relationship between Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian. But she had never thought that Dmo Xian would really pamper Yiqing Luo in the palm of his hand. At this moment, Dmo Xian's appearance was obviously to support Yiqing Luo, who was the Overlord, Nirvana Realm's legend, a heaven-defying existence that surpassed all realms. Overlord, Godless Island, and the historians all knelt down. No matter how unwilling young Island Master was. But facing Dmo Xian, he had to kneel down. His heart was pounding violently, as though it was going to jump out from his throat. He knew how much Dmo Xian doted on Yiqing Luo. For today, to let the Wolf Saint technique successfully occupy the West Continent, he specially made Feng Ling join hands with the Imperial Palace's granny, to cause a huge commotion in the Imperial Palace, so that Dmo Xian couldn't be separated to intervene in the West Continent's matters. But Dmo Xian actually came. He didn't receive any news from Feng Ling, which meant that the crisis in the Imperial Palace had not been resolved. Dmo Xian abandoned the Imperial Palace and rushed over to the West Continent. No matter how he calculated, he didn't expect Yiqing Luo actually occupied such an important position in Dmo Xian's heart. He didn't even care about the Imperial Palace's downfall. Shouldn't a man place his own status as the most important? Love affairs were just a spice to life when life was boring. As a dignified Dizun, he regarded love as the most important thing in the world. He didn't know if he should laugh at Dmo Xian's stupidity. He should admire Dmo Xian's confidence. Yiqing Luo raised her head as her red robe fluttered in the wind. Her fine black hair fluttered in the wind, revealing her stunning looks. Xian, haven't you settled the Imperial Palace's matter? Yiqing Luo heard the surrounding discussions and understood that those small-sized powerhouses' words weren't fake. She lowered her eyelashes. I'm sorry, I pushed Feng Ling too hard. If it weren't for the fact that she was working together with the headquarters and wanted to put a bounty on Wind Chime's head. With Feng Ling's love for Dmo Xian, Feng Ling would never do anything to harm Dmo Xian or the Imperial Palace. The Imperial Palace was Dmo Xian's blood and sweat. The Imperial Palace's granny was also considered as Dmo Xian's elder. Because of her, it caused the destruction of Dmo Xian's Imperial Palace, and also caused the only relationship between Dmo Xian and the Imperial Palace's granny to be completely severed. Silly Luo, what are you apologizing for? Dmo Xian's slender fingers poked Yiqing Luo's forehead. The Imperial Palace is merely a toy that I use to kill time when I'm bored. If I want to, I can lead the remaining disciples in the Imperial Palace to casually establish a second Imperial Palace, which is as easy as flipping my palm. As for Feng Ling, she would bring away a large portion of the Imperial Palace's forces, which is within my expectations. Yiqing Luo buried her head into his arms. Why didn't you stop her? Chapter 2038. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips tightly. Her little head rubbed against Dmo Xian's arms. The expression on Dmo Xian's face turned gentler. Seeing this, the surrounding girls all held their cheeks and shrieked incessantly. Dmo Xian patted Yiqing Luo's head lightly as he looked at the crowd kneeling on the ground as his voice regained its indifference. Get up. The crowd stood up shakily. Dmo Xian's gaze lightly swept past Librarian, as he pretended to inadvertently glance at the dark forces, who were tied up one after another. What's the matter with Librarian, sir? These people who had violated the lower realm's order are still here? Do you think that this matter hasn't been blown out of proportion? Librarian Sir felt a chill down his spine as his forehead was filled with cold sweat as he trembled and hung his head down. Overlord, please forgive me, it's Godless Island's young island master, who wants to demand for people from me. These people have violated the lower realm's balance, so I naturally can't agree to it. So young island master. So he fought with me, which is why it has been stagnated till now. The librarian decisively pushed all the blame onto the young island master. He didn't mention that he was afraid of Godless Island's power, so he pushed young island master to Yi Qing Luo. If he had known earlier that Yi Qing Luo and Overlord had such a relationship, what face did he have to give Godless Island? No matter how much face he had, he was no match for the Overlord. Oh! Diemo Xian's brows rose as he looked at young island master with a smile which didn't look like a smile. When did Godless Island become so powerful? You even dare to fight with Heavenly Ways librarian? Young island master was swept by his gaze. His entire body instantly turned soft. His legs turned soft as he knelt onto the ground again. Overlord, I just... His stuttering voice was unable to spit out any further words. TSK, I remember that young island master doesn't care about me? Why are you so afraid? Diemo Xian hugged Yi Qing Luo as he slowly walked towards young island master. That pair of shimmering peach blossom eyes were extremely dazzling. However, when the two of them met, they couldn't help but laugh. He felt a chill in his heart. The young island master trembled, his face pale. I wouldn't dare to look down on Di Zun. Using Lil Luoer's maiden family to lure Lil Luoer and this lord into the soulless formation. Attempting to use the soulless formation to kill this lord and Lil Luoer in the formation. Isn't this the young island master's doing? Diemo Xian gave a light smile. His thin, rosy red lips curved into a devilish cold arc. The young island master shook his head in horror. Lord Overlord, please spare my life. Lord Overlord, please spare my life. How arrogant had he been before? There were so many cowards now. At that time, Wu Sha had specially advised him and talked about his confidence. Only now did he understand. He had underestimated Diemo Xian's ability. When they really face to face, only then did he truly understand how far the gap between him and the Overlord was. Do you still remember what I said last time? Diemo Xian's fingers gently caressed Yi Qing Luo's fine hair, but when he looked towards young island master, his voice was as though it was wrapped in frost. The young island lord felt a chill down his spine. He remembered. Of course he remembered. At that time, when Diemo Xian led a group of people to break the soulless formation, he said that sentence to him. Convey this to your island master. Regarding today's matter, I will personally pay a visit to discuss with island master in detail. It was just a simple sentence, but it made him become a nightmare in the following nights, pestering him in his dreams. And it was precisely because of this time round when he saw Diemo Xian's appearance. Young island master's fear towards Diemo Xian rose to the peak. Diemo Xian met with young island master's terrified eyes, like a whirlpool, sucking young island master into a deep pool. Star. Chapter 2039. Pft. Peed. Godless Island's young island master was so scared that he peed? Ha ha ha, look at his clothes, ha 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 ha. A sudden laughter came from the crowd. Following that, numerous people looked over. Young island master was dressed in a dark brocade robe, and one could clearly see that there was an obvious water mark on his buttocks. Apparently, he was scared by Diemo Xian and peed his pants. The tense atmosphere also collapsed at this moment. Everyone held their bellies and laughed. Young island master held his buttocks as his face turned green and white. The people laughed at him. The royal army also laughed at him. Everyone around him was laughing at him. His face was ashen as he angrily rebuked the Godless Island islanders. What are you waiting for? Take off your clothes. The islanders of the Godless Island looked embarrassed, angry, and annoyed. Young Island Master represented the entire Godless Island. But Young Island Master was in the lowly lower realm. In front of so many lowly lower realm people, he did such a powerless and disgraced Godless Island. They all felt like their faces were on fire, extremely embarrassed. Hearing Young Island Master using a commanding tone to rebuke them, the shame in the bottom of the islanders' hearts welled up. Young Island Master, Godless Island's reputation has been swept away because of you, and you still don't know it? Today's matter. I will definitely report it to Island Master in full detail. He roared as he untied his outer robe and threw it at Young Island Master. The clothes that reeked of a man's sweat covered his face. The coarse cloth cut the skin on his face. He was infuriated as he tugged the robe down and stared at that islander furiously, just as he was about to reprimand. But he heard a light and hoarse voice. "Young island master, I don't have the leisure to waste time on you. If you know what's good for you, hand over the antidote of Lil Luoer's maiden family. Otherwise, I don't mind bringing Lil Luo or up to Godless Island to ask for the antidote myself." Young island master's body shook violently. Both his hands unconsciously tightened the coarse cloth robe in his hands. Inexplicably, he recalled the time when he exchanged glances with Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian's eyes were deep like a whirlpool, as if he wanted to absorb the feeling of his soul. The young island master immediately wrapped the coarse robe around his waist, covering his embarrassing part. "Since His Majesty asked for the antidote personally, I will naturally give it to him. But, Lord Dizun, to tell you the truth, those two people in the land domain are not the people that Godless Island wants to take them away. It's the man called Yuhan. He is." Young island master looked to the left and right as he got closer to Dmo Xian and lowered his voice. "He's from God Realm." Divine Realm? Upon hearing these two words, Yi Qing Luo was slightly stunned. Her eyelashes trembled, and the light in her eyes rippled. The upper realm was the highest level of all the planes and realms. They were divided into the Earth Realm, the Heaven Realm, and the God Realm. The God World was the most exalted and noble of all realms. This Yuhan came from the Divine World? Even Dmo Xian frowned because of the two words Divine Realm. Dmo Xian remained silent. The young island master's worried heart also relaxed. He knew that as long as the God Realm was mentioned, even if it was someone as exalted as an overlord, he had to give face to the God Realm. An overlord status was indeed enough to have a foothold in the Earth Domain or Heaven Realm. But in the God Realm, an overlord was nothing. No matter what, an overlord had to give face to the God Realm. Star. Chapter 2040. The silence lasted for as long as 15 minutes. Finally, Dmo Xian opened his mouth. "People from the God Realm dare to intervene in the matters of the lower realm?" Dmo Xian's voice was cold. How daring! His rosy lips curled into a cool arc as he looked at the historiographer. "I wonder, according to the laws of heaven, what kind of punishment will be given for such a crime?" The historiographer originally didn't hear what young island master whispered to the overlord. But now he heard the overlord mentioning the two words God Realm. His heart skipped a beat and almost jumped out of his throat. God Realm? And it even involved the God Realm? People from the God Realm meddled in the matters of the lower realm. This crime was far more serious than people from the Earth Realm sneaking into the lower realm. But people from the God Realm, even their balanced historiographer didn't dare to offend them easily. But Dmo Xian threw the problem to him. The historiographer instantly felt a headache coming on. How could an innocent person like him be implicated in the dispute between the two forces? If he had known that the imbalance in the lower realm which he sensed in the Heaven Realm was caused by Yi Qing Luo, who had a close relationship with the overlord, he would never intervene in this matter, even if he was beaten to death. Now he was regretting so much, but he still had to bite the bullet and said in a trembling voice, "What the overlord said is right. According to the laws of heaven, people from the God Realm who sneak into the lower realm will have to suffer the calamity of 81 bolts of heavenly thunder and be thrown into the heaven prison for 100 years. Yuhan's face instantly turned as white as paper. He could no longer maintain his usual frosty look. To suffer the calamity of 81 bolts of heavenly thunder and be thrown into the heaven prison without any treatment. Wasn't this forcing him to his death? Historiographer. Young island master stared angrily at the historiographer. The historiographer immediately looked away. What? Young island master wants to threaten the historiographer to defy the laws of heaven in front of me. Dmo Xian glanced at young island master with a smile yet not a smile. Young island master felt a chill down his spine as he lowered his head. "I don't dare." "Then shut up and do everything according to the rules." Dmo Xian's narrow peach blossom eyes flashed past a contemptuous sneer. Immediately, he lowered his eyes. Like flowers blooming in spring, It was extremely gentle and warm. He gave a slight smile as he caressed Yiqing Luo's fine black hair, speaking in a gentle voice. Lil Luo must be tired. Let's go back and rest. Yiqing Luo raised her head and met his tender eyes. Her heart was as sweet as if it had been irrigated by sugar water. The man who had abandoned the palace to support her. No matter how one looked at him, he was handsome. This was her man. Yiqing Luo opened up her arms and wrapped them tightly around his sturdy waist. Demo Xian's hand, that was caressing her hair, was gentle. However, his face regained its indifference and coldness. Historiographer, you have been in the lower realm for too long. Now lead your brothers back to the heavenly law realm. If the god realm wants to take those two people away, just let them come and find me. I'll take responsibility for whatever happens. Yes, your majesty. The scribe nodded repeatedly and impatiently led the other scribes away. He didn't give the young island master any chance to stop him. The golden light gradually disappeared into the horizon. The crack in the sky also returned to normal. Young island master's body went limp as he fell heavily onto the ground. Finished. Everything was finished. He couldn't get Yuhan back. Today. He had lost such a huge face. Everything he had was completely ruined. Young island master antidote. Demo Xian narrowed his peach blossom eyes as he looked at the man whose face was filled with despair as he spoke coldly. Star. Chapter 2041. Young Island Lord. No. He who had failed the mission had already lost his right to be the Young Island Lord. He couldn't even be compared to the ordinary islanders of Godless Island. Now he should be called Dao Yegan. Hearing Demo Xian's warning, Dao Yegan gave a low laugh. His face was filled with despair as his eyes were empty and lifeless, revealing a sliver of insanity. Antidote. If I can't bring the two of them away, I will absolutely not hand over the antidote. Dao Yegan tilted his head as he pointed towards Yan Xiaoyi's direction and laughed. Anyway, if I can't bring the two of them away, I will absolutely not be able to live. Why not? Let my fiancé die together with me. As he said that, he couldn't help but burst out laughing. Bam! Demo Xian's sleeves fluttered, and the purple glow was extremely dazzling. Dao Yegan's body was sent flying backward. His tall body landed heavily on the broken stones and blood. He gave a dull moan as he sprawled on the ground, too lazy to climb up. Instead, he coughed while laughing maniacally. Kill me. Demo Xian, aren't you very powerful? Then kill me. Ha ha ha. It was obvious that Dao Yegan was determined to die. Demo Xian's brows creased slightly as he gazed at Dao Yegan. His slender fingers lifted up slightly as a piercing ray spread out from his fingertips. Ah Xian, he wants to die, but I don't want him to die. Yiqing Luo hugged Demo Xian's arm, suppressing his murderous intent. The young lady's sweet voice was clear and pleasant to the ears. He has a good idea. If you kill him, not only will he gain a good reputation, he can also erase the embarrassing incident of him peeing in his pants when he saw you earlier. By then, even if there's a new young island lord, everyone in Godless Island will only say, look, our previous young island lord, because of Godless Island Lord's orders, he died in the hands of the Overlord. This is the young island lord who sacrificed his life for Godless Island. The other young island lords will only live under his halo in future. Lying on the ground, Dao Yegan, who was laughing maniacally, suddenly stopped. Having his thoughts exposed, he stared blankly at Yiqing Luo, as though he couldn't understand why Yiqing Luo was able to guess his plans so thoroughly. Was his performance that obvious? Rather than letting him die with a good name, it's better to let your name spread far and wide. Yiqing Luo scoffed softly as her brows curved, extremely crafty. Since he values his reputation so much, then let's start from his reputation. She wrapped her arms around Demo Xian's neck and stuffed her head into his arms as she beamed and said, Ah Xian, since we're already here, why don't we bring young island master to Godless Island? Demo Xian's eyes were filled with adoration. He helplessly looked at the girl in his arms and sighed softly, but nodded his head in a doting manner. Okay. At this point, Dao Yegan could no longer laugh. Bring him to Godless Island? Wouldn't his reputation be completely ruined? Even today, in the mortal world, being scared by a venerable sovereign, would also become a laughing stock on the godless island. No, absolutely not like this. He was the war god young island lord in the hearts of the godless island's islanders. He was the godless island's islanders' revered young island lord. His reputation absolutely could not be ruined. He had to admit that Yi Qing Luo had grasped Dao Yegan's Achilles heel. It was a simple speech. Dao Yegan could only obediently hand over the antidote. He even regretted and was annoyed that he had revealed the poison in Yin Xiaoyi's body. Star. Chapter 2042. After getting the antidote, Yi Qing Luo didn't immediately let Yin Xiaoyi consume it. She used the 100-pill refining technique to filter the ingredients of the antidote. After confirming that the antidote did not contain any ingredients that could harm her life, she placed the antidote into the profound phoenix ring. Although she filtered it again, but in the end, he still had to let the ghost doctor personally confirm it. After all, the 100 refinement pill was just a secret manual. He didn't know how to be flexible. Better safe than sorry. As it concerned Yin Xiaoyi's life, Yi Qing Luo could not take any risks. After getting the antidote, Yi Qing Luo's slender brows rose slightly as she looked at Dao Yegan with a smile, which didn't look like a smile. She looked at Dao Yegan, whose face was filled with anger, but didn't dare to flare up as she laughed softly. Seeing that you're sensible enough to hand over the antidote, tell me, should I fulfill your reputation and let Xian take your life? Dao Yegan shuddered as he abruptly raised his head and stared at Yi Qing Luo, his eyes filled with terror. In the end, he was still afraid of death. Admiring Island Yi Qian's green and white complexion, Yi Qing Luo's lips curled upwards contemptuously as she gave an extremely satisfied smile. Then I'll spare your lowly life. I'll also send my regards to the island master. Dao Yeqian clenched his fists tightly as his body tensed up, as if he was trying to suppress his anger. But even if he was enraged by Yi Qing Luo's ridicule, he still did not speak. Yi Qing Luo scoffed lightly. She really thought that Dao Yigan was very capable. He was just a weakling who was outwardly strong but inwardly weak. Yi Qing Luo yawned lazily. On the importance of hugging onto a thick thigh. This was an example. With the antidote in hand, the battle was over. Yi Qing Luo and the others had no intention to continue staying. After all, everyone was already exhausted from the continuous battle. The new monarch Lung Feng called out to the royal army, as well as the citizens who had volunteered to detain those small-sized powerhouses. The Yin family did not give up and kept calling Yin Xiaoyi's name. Earlier, the overlord had personally admitted that Yin Xiaoyi was Yi Qing Luo's maiden's family, and in the overlord's heart, that was a pivotal position. As long as Yin Xiaoyi was willing to save them, get in touch with Yin Xiaoyi, then they would be able to get close to His Majesty. The Yin family scolded Yin Zhenfei and kept badmouthing Yin Xiaoyi, trying to recall Yin Xiaoyi's longing for kinship. However, until they were dragged away by the royal army, Yin Xiaoyi didn't even look at them. Xiao Jin looked at the exhausted woman in his arms and asked in a low voice with heartache, "Are you tired? It's too noisy here. I'll bring you back to the old mansion to rest. When the ghost doctor rushes back, you'll be able to recover." Yin Xiaoyi nodded lightly and leaned on Xiao Jin's shoulder. She closed her eyes tiredly. He was indeed very tired. It wasn't just physical exhaustion. There was also the exhaustion of his heart. Sure enough, without hope, one wouldn't be so sad. She had long been disappointed in the Yin family. Therefore, when she saw the hysterical Yin family trying to please her and beg her, that was why he could be so calm. But the human heart was made of flesh. He would be lying if he said he wasn't sad. But such sadness and exhaustion, in the end it would disappear with the passage of time. If he softened his heart and stayed in the Yin family, the one who got hurt in the end would definitely be her. Relatives, she only needed devil class, the world group and everyone, that was enough. The public square became orderly. Yi Qing Luo and the others were sent off under the citizens' respectful and revering gazes as they headed towards the direction of the old mansion. The bunch of people from Three Springs sect looked at each other in dismay and decisively chose to follow Yi Qing Luo and the others. Chapter 2043. Yiqing Luo realized that there were hundreds of people dressed in Three Springs sect's uniform following behind. She had no choice but to send them back to Three Springs sect to tidy up the mess that Yiqing Qian and Yi Fengru had created. After things had settled down, she would hold the Three Springs sect's patriarch succession ceremony. The hundreds of people from Three Springs sect were completely submissive towards Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo's command made them respond in unison. Yes. After that, the hundreds of them turned around and rushed towards the direction of Three Springs sect. Just at this moment a sharp voice was heard. Who dares to leave? That voice, Yiqing Luo paused and looked towards the direction of the voice. She saw Yi Fengru holding a dagger against Nangong Lin's neck. His usually elegant face was now filled with madness and malevolence. He restrained Nangong Lin and bellowed, I'm the patriarch of Three Springs sect. I'm the patriarch. You bunch of traitors of Three Springs sect. Are you trying to betray Three Springs sect? The hundreds of people from Three Springs sect were stunned by Yi Fengru's malevolent expression. In their hearts, Yi Fengru had always been a good young master. He was in charge of all the expenses of Three Springs sect, exhausting his own ability to contribute silently for Three Springs sect. But what was it that made their gentle and refined second young master turn into such a state? Power? Ambition? Or was he just like that? Yi Fengru. Nangong Firen looked at him in disbelief. Do you know what you're doing? Do you know who you're pointing your dagger at? Yi Fengru stared fiercely at Nangong Firen. If you still treat me as your brother, go and kill Yiqing Luo. Avenge Qianqian. Yi Fengru, have you lost your mind? Nangong Firen gritted his teeth in anger. He had never hated Zi Qianqian's existence as much as now. Yi Fengru sneered. I'm not crazy, I'm clear-headed. Nangong Firen, you like Yiqing Luo, so you won't feel heartache for Qianqian dying in her hands. But I feel heartache. Qianqian was such a good lady, and she died just like that. She died without a complete corpse. As he spoke, Yi Fengru's voice became as terrifying as a devil's. He increased the strength in his hand and said, I lost my beloved woman. Don't you feel bad for Nangong Lin? Fine. I'll kill her. I'll kill her, and let you have a taste of what it feels like to lose someone you value. Yi Fengru, Brother Ru. Nangong Lin felt a sharp pain in her neck, and her eyes were filled with astonishment. She could feel a warm liquid seeping out of her neck. That pain was nothing compared to the pain in her heart. Nangong Lin couldn't help but shed tears. Big Brother Ru, you promised me that you'd forget about Big Sister Qianqian. As long as I cooperate with you and help you escape, you'll be with me. Why? Why are you treating me like this? Nangong Lin felt as though her heart was being torn apart. It was precisely because she loved Yi Fengru. Therefore, she knew that her brother would be angry. Without hesitation, she chose to use herself as a hostage to help Yi Fengru escape. But Yi Fengru wanted to kill her. Nangong Lin wasn't stupid. She could feel the biting cold murderous intent from Yi Fengru. He really wanted to kill her. Lin, don't you like me very much? So now, in order to let your brother Ru be happy, for Brother Ru to die, isn't that good? Yi Fengru listened to Nangong Lin's broken sobs as he leaned close to her ear and laughed maniacally. Chapter 2044. Yi Fengru, you bastard. Nangong Firen's chest heaved with anger. His eyes turned scarlet, but he did not dare to act rashly. He was afraid that he would move. Yi Fengru would really kill Nangong Lin in the heat of the moment. Even Nangong Firen, who had known Yi Fengru for several years, had never seen Yi Fengru in such a sick state. Bastard, you're the one who doesn't care about Qianqian. Don't tell me you're not a bastard. Yi Fengru laughed instead of getting angry. Zi Qianqian colluded with the dark forces. That's what she deserved. Even if she didn't die, my killing god mercenary group will not tolerate her. Nangong Firen frowned and said, Ru, for the sake of our many years of life and death together, let Lin go. I won't hold this against you. Ha ha ha. Between us, from the moment you fell in love with Yiqing Luo, there's no more brotherhood to speak of. Yi Fengru roared malevolently. The dagger in his hand increased the strength. Nangong Lin screamed in pain and struggled to break free. Nangong Firen's eyes were bloodshot and his body was tense. Looking at the dagger, he really didn't hesitate to slash his sister's neck. Nangong Firen could no longer hold back and lunged forward. Boom! Ah! Two voices sounded at the same time. The sound of something falling to the ground was heard. It was the sound of the man screaming in pain again. Nangong Firen dashed forward and caught Nangong Lin, who was weak and feeble, in his arms. His hands were trembling slightly. Linner! Linner! Nangong Firen's voice was trembling. Nangong Lin, who had lost too much blood, blinked her eyelashes weakly. She stared at Nangong Firen's face with unfocused eyes. After a long while, he finally managed to get it into focus. Brother! Brother! Nangong Lin's voice was weak as she panted heavily. I'm sorry. Nangong Firen quickly tore off his clothes and covered her neck. Don't talk, Linner. I will save you. I will definitely save you. Nangong Lin blinked her eyes weakly. She parted her lips slightly and breathed out silently. However, he could not utter a single word. It was only when death arrived that Nangong Lin realized how foolish she had been. Only by experiencing pain would one know how to grow. She bitterly loved a man who didn't love her back. She even made her brother sad for her. She was really a failure of a sister. If there was a next life, she still wanted to be her brother's sister. But next time, she would be the one to love him. His consciousness gradually dissipated. Nangong Lin felt as light as a feather. Was his soul about to leave his body? She could still vaguely hear her brother shouting her name at the top of his lungs. She wanted to laugh and reassure her brother. But, I really don't have any strength left. TSK, isn't it just a stab? Why do you have to make it seem like a drama? Suddenly, a speechless and impatient voice sounded. Nangong Lin felt as if something was stuffed into her mouth. Then his light body was suddenly pulled down. His consciousness gradually became clear. Then he felt a sharp pain in his neck. She let out a blood-curdling scream. His voice was a little hoarse, but it wasn't as weak as before. Nangong Firen tightened his grip and looked at Nangong Lin with joy. Linner! Linner! Look at your brother! Look at your brother! Nangong Lin's eyes met Nangong Firen's. She opened her mouth and wanted to speak. She felt another sharp pain in her neck. That irritating and impatient voice sounded again. If you don't want your throat to be damaged, you'd better shut up. Nangong Lin held her breath. Through Nangong Firen's shoulder, she saw a young girl dressed in red crossed her arms in front of her chest and looked at her with an impatient expression. Chapter 2045. It was Yiqing Luo. It was actually Yiqing Luo. Nangong Lin's eyes widened as she looked at Yiqing Luo in shock. Why did Yiqing Luo come out to save her? Obviously, she had also done many overboard things to Yiqing Luo. He had always treated Yiqing Luo as a thorn in his side. Why did Yiqing Luo save her at this moment? Don't look at me with such loving eyes. Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes at Nangong Lin. Whether you're dead or alive, I really don't care, but I don't want my second brother who betrayed Three Springs sect to have his way. You. Nangong Lin's face turned pale. She knew that this woman was not a kind person. Nangong Firen immediately covered Nangong Lin's mouth. Lin don't talk. Big brother will take you back to the Nangong family. The doctor will heal your injuries. Nangong Lin's mouth moved, but she stopped because of the sharp pain in her throat. After Nangong Firen comforted his younger sister, he carried Nangong Lin in his arms and stood up. He looked at Yiqing Luo. There wasn't the slightest bit of unnecessary emotion in his eyes. Her eyes were clear and filled with gratitude. Miss Yiqing Luo, no matter what the reason was for you to lend a helping hand, I only know that you've saved my sister, and also stopped Ru from doing something that he would definitely regret for the rest of his life. Nangong Firen's voice was clear and gentle. This kindness, the Nangong family will always remember it in our hearts. In future, if Miss Yiqing Luo needs any help, I will represent the Nangong family to make a promise that no matter if we have to climb a mountain of swords or descend into a sea of flames, the Nangong family will not hesitate. As soon as he finished speaking, Nangong Firen fell to his knees. Brother. Nangong Lin could not help but spit out a word. Her eyes were filled with shock. For as long as she could remember, her brother had always been proud. Her brother was the most talented child in the Nangong family, an existence that everyone in the Nangong family revolved around. It could be said that she had never seen her brother suffer any grievances or pain. But today, her brother had knelt before a 15-year-old girl. This girl was also a girl that she had once held in extreme disdain. Even now, she still couldn't like that girl. However, she suddenly understood something. Why was her brother obviously in love with Yiqing Luo? But he had been hiding the reason for his feelings. Such an insolent and unbridled girl. How could her brother control it? The god-slaying mercenary group's mercenaries, who had followed Nangong Firen here, saw Nangong Firen kneeling. He immediately followed Nangong Firen and knelt down in Yiqing Luo's direction. As long as Miss Yi needs help, the god-killing mercenary group will not hesitate. This scene left the surrounding factions and countless commoners dumbfounded. Nangong family. It was a clan that was equally as famous as the four great profounder clans. In particular, Nangong Firen had appeared in this generation, making the Nangong family even more powerful. In the West Continent, even the four great profounder clans had to give the Nangong clan some face. Since the Nangong clan was so powerful, why didn't the Nangong clan join the four great clans when the Shangguang clan was removed from the list of profounder clans? The main reason was that the Nangong clan did not care about their reputation. If the Nangong family wanted to, there was no such thing as the Shangguang clan or the Yuchi clan among the four great profounder clans. Looking at the Killing God mercenary group, that was the third-ranked mercenary group in the mercenary guild. Usually, even if he spent a lot of money, he might not be able to hire the Killing God mercenary group. Today, the Killing God mercenary group had offered to run errands for Yiqing Luo. Star. Chapter 2046. Couldn't be envious. Couldn't be envious. Couldn't be envious. However, everyone felt that this was a great honor. But the main character who enjoyed this honor didn't seem excited at all. That unparalleled face that could topple cities was calm and collected. Yiqing Luo looked at Nangong Firen calmly as her pink lips moved slightly, spitting out a few words. Remember what you said today. Wasn't this a little too insolent? But why the hell did they feel that insolent was very handsome? Yiqing Luo was a lady. How could a lady be so handsome? Those female citizens had long thrown away their reservations as they screamed Yiqing Luo's name. The other men, their charm was not even comparable to a 15-year-old lady. Shouldn't they reflect on their actions? Yiqing Luo didn't pay attention to the thoughts of the surrounding citizens and the various powerhouses. Her gaze swept past the Death God mercenary group and finally landed on Nangong Firen. Her voice was still that calm and indifferent. There is gold under a man's knees. No matter how grateful you are, don't easily offer your knees. I have not done anything to make you kneel down to me. Her words made the Death God mercenary group and Nangong Firen stunned. Before they regained their senses, Yiqing Luo had already walked past them as she walked straight ahead. The few of them were stunned for several breaths. One by one, they stood up from the ground. Right, Yiqing Luo was right. There was gold under a man's knees. No matter how grateful they were, they shouldn't offer their knees so casually. Yiqing Luo's target was Yifeng Ru, who was sent flying. Yiqing Luo's palm strike had used 50% of her strength. Yifeng Ru's internal organs were all heavily injured. He couldn't even support his body to stand up. Yifeng Ru laid in a pool of blood with his limbs spread out. His robe was stained with blood. He looked like a demon bathed in blood. Yes, a demon. A head of white hair. A pair of red eyes seemed to have merged with the pool of blood on the ground. The crazed expression on Yifeng Ru's face didn't diminish at all. When he saw Yiqing Luo, he laughed maniacally instead. Looking at Yiqing Luo, who was laughing hysterically, Yiqing Luo suddenly recalled the first time she met Yifeng Ru. He wore a plain soft robe and smiled warmly at her. At that time, she brought Yifeng Yu away from the ancestral hall, but was stopped by second madam. It was Yifeng Ru who appeared and gave Yifeng Yu the best time for treatment. Although Yifeng Ru had always been suspicious of Yifeng Ru, however, She had never imagined that there would come a day when she and Yi Fengru would end up in such a situation. Yi Qing Luo. Ha ha ha. If you can't take revenge for Qian Qian, then kill me. Kill me and let me go to that world to reunite with Qian Qian. His hoarse voice was roaring like a madman. Those once gentle eyes were now filled with hatred. Yi Qing Luo half squatted down as her pink lips curled up into a smile that didn't look like a smile. What right do you have to avenge her? Yi Fengru's voice faltered, and his expression became fierce. Because in this world only I truly love her. Heh, you love her. So you're accompanying her to become a demon? Your love is really superficial. Yi Qing Luo sneered with extreme disdain. Yi Fengru was stunned. What do you mean? True love is not to accompany her to be bewitched, to bring calamity to the common people, but to rein in when she does something wrong. Star. Chapter 2047. Yi Qing Luo said calmly. If you really love Zi Qianqian, then when Zi Qianqian is arrogant and conceited, and thinks that she's the only one, you should wake her up, and not let her repeatedly sink into her own delusions. Her tone was obviously very indifferent. Her voice was obviously very light. But unfortunately, it was like thunder, exploding in Yi Fengru's heart. He wanted to retort, to express that this was his way of loving Zi Qianqian, accepting everything about Zi Qianqian, loving Zi Qianqian without any bottom line. But meeting Yi Qing Luo's calm and indifferent eyes, Yi Fengru's words were all stuck in his throat. If it wasn't because of your indulgence, why would Zi Qianqian feel aggrieved after losing to me? Unable to accept her own failure? In the end, for the so-called victory, she was willing to submit to the dark forces. When Yi Qing Luo said this, she gave an extremely disdainful smile. In this place where martial arts are advocated, ability is the most important, where the weak are prey to the strong, self-confidence and conceit, will not allow one to survive. What can really support us to go further is our own ability. Zi Qianqian's failure was because her ability was obviously not strong, but because of your flattery, she was unable to recognize her true self, and finally ended up in such an outcome. When Yi Qing Luo spoke, her tone was very light, and spoke very slowly. From the start to the end, Yi Fengru had not opened his mouth to stop her. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled, her eyes were cold, as she fixed her gaze on Yi Fengru, word by word, extremely cruel. Yi Fengru, Zi Qianqian's real death is because of you. You caused Zi Qianqian's death. Yi Fengru's expression was a riot of colors. His face was filled with shock, unable to accept Yi Qing Luo's words. But unfortunately, he was unable to refute a single word. Tears overflowed from his eyes. Yi Qing Luo slowly stood up. I won't kill you, but you killed your father, forcefully snatched the position of Three Springs sect's patriarch, and instigated generations of good people in Three Springs sect to join the dark forces, almost becoming a traitor. You must atone for this matter. Yi Fengru laid on the ground, his eyes empty. His thoughts had already drifted somewhere. These words, Yi Qing Luo hadn't said it to him before. Whether or not Yi Fengru would listen, she didn't care. Public opinion was a sharp weapon at any time, even if she didn't care. But now, she was the representative of Devil Class, the representative of the World Mercenary Group. In the future, she would become DMO Xian's wife. She couldn't allow any dirt on her. There couldn't be anything that could be used to attack in the future. Yi Fengru was her second brother. Even if they were traitors, she had killed Yi Fengru. Those who knew the truth would think that she was putting her family before righteousness. It was a magnificent act. However, those who didn't know would only think that he was cold-blooded and merciless to the point that he would even lay his hands on his own kin. Yi Qing Luo looked at Yi Fengru's dazed look and sighed softly. She took out a pill from her bosom. With a flick of his finger, the pill slid into Yi Fengru's mouth. His eyelashes trembled, but there was no reaction. Zhang San, Zhang Si, bring second young master back to Three Springs sect's dungeon. After the patriarch's succession ceremony, then carry out the execution. Yi Qing Luo waved her hand, as though she was extremely exhausted. Zhang San and Zhang Si were the first to put down their weapons after listening to Yi Qing Luo's words, and chose to be loyal to Three Springs sect's initial choice, choosing Yi Qing Luo as the young sect patriarch. Hearing Yi Qing Luo's words, the both of them ran over eagerly, one on the left and one on the right to support Yi Fengru. Young sect patriarch, don't worry, we will definitely complete the task. Star. Chapter 2048. Three Springs sect's farce had finally come to an end. Yi Qing Luo's slender fingers pressed against her aching glabella. She was just about to stretch her waist. Her slender waist was embraced by Dmo Xian. Yi Qing Luo didn't care that this was the Nirvana realm, which had yet to be opened up. She lazily buried herself into Dmo Xian's arms. Is there anything else that hasn't been settled? Dmo Xian replied gently. No, take a rest first, I will accompany you. Perhaps his voice was too gentle. Perhaps it was because his embrace was too comforting. Yi Qing Luo actually really fell into a deep sleep in his arms. A golden road extended to the front, as far as the eye could see, as if there was no end. An awe-inspiring group of 30 people led the ropes that tied up thousands of people, as they walked on the path created by the golden light. The historian who had been following behind the historian couldn't hide his thoughts. He quickly walked forward and whispered into the historian's ear. Sir Historian, that Yi Qing Luo, what is her background? The historian's icy cold expression congealed as he frowned slightly. Why do you ask? Because I can tell that Sir Historian should be siding with Yi Qing Luo. This historian and the historian were like brothers, so he didn't hold back when he spoke. He took a look at the surroundings and suppressed his voice, using only the two of them to continue speaking. Those two people from the Earth realm sneaked into the lower realm, and that indeed violated the balance of the lower realm. It's indeed normal for us to capture him, but I still feel that if Yi Qing Luo wasn't around, we should still give face to Godless Island. He paused. Anyway, that man called Yuhan seems to be related to the God realm. The historian didn't mention the Overlord, because before the Overlord appeared, the Overlord was already siding with Yi Qing Luo. The appearance of the Overlord merely made the historian more determined to stand on Yi Qing Luo's side. The historian had been unable to understand. When the historian was probing Yi Qing Luo's true profound grade, he revealed an expression, that kind of shock, as if he couldn't believe it. A young lady from the lower realm. Who could make the historian reveal such an expression? And after that, he directly sided with Yi Qing Luo. The expression on the historian's face was somewhat complicated. After a moment of silence, he quickened his pace. Seeing this, the scribe immediately followed, until the distance between them and the other court historians was 10 meters away. Administrator then suppressed his voice as he said word by word, that Yi Qing Luo is not simple. She is indeed only a sky-profound grade cultivator. When the scribe heard this, his eyes were filled with astonishment. But the power that we sensed in the heavenly law realm is definitely not only at the profound heavens realm. That is a power that can shake the entire realm of gods. He thought that when Lord Librarian had checked on Yi Qing Luo's profound grade, he had intentionally concealed it for her. After all, when they sensed a strong fluctuation in the lower realm had already been destroyed. Even the master of the heavenly law was startled. That power was definitely not released by a profound practitioner of the sky profound realm. That's what surprises me. The scribe's expression was grave. When I was probing her profound rank, I sensed the profound heart jade in her body. That is, who are you? Suddenly, a wave of miserable cries sounded from behind them. The scribes lost their heads out of fear, becoming extremely chaotic. Chapter 2049. Those 20 over-court officials had unknowingly fallen onto the ground. The ropes in their hands had already been cut into several pieces. The surviving members of the Dark Forces, as well as Yuhan and the elderly, were all released. The librarian's face sunk as he shouted, "Who are you? How dare you disturb the order of the court officials?" The surviving members of the dark forces who had been rescued looked at their bound hands in shock. He had never thought that he would be saved. After Yuhan was rescued, his face revealed a joyous expression. To be able to appear in front of the court officials at this moment, and under the supervision of 20 court officials, to rescue over 1,000 of them, other than his revered lord, there was no one else. He joyfully scanned the surroundings, but after looking for some time, he didn't manage to find the revered lord. Just as he was puzzled, Ghost Female's sinister voice rang in his mind. Yuhan, the revered lord has orders. Bring these people to Godless Island. Yes. Yuhan accepted the order, exercised the joints of her hands, and immediately raised her voice. Someone is here to save us. If you don't want to be locked up in the heavenly prison, then leave with me. I guarantee that I will give you a chance to turn around. Yuhan's voice was very cold, and the power to stir one's heart was not enough. But at this moment, those people from the dark forces, especially those few holy techniques in Pharaoh, were only thinking of surviving, to seek revenge from Wolf Holy Technique. The dark forces' main camp had already been leveled by the Imperial Palace. They had no chance to go to Nirvana Realm. If they had a chance to turn around, even if they had to lower their heads, they were willing. For a moment, no one rebutted Yuhan's words, as they all rushed towards Yuhan's direction. When the 30 court officials saw this, they were about to stop them. However, there was a formless power in the air that blocked their path. The librarian's face sunk. Circulating his profound energy, he struck that barrier. The moment the profound energy came into contact with the profound energy, it instantly dissipated. They could only watch Yuhan, and that Earth Realm elderly, bringing thousands of surviving members of the dark forces, disappearing before their eyes. Nirvana Realm. By the time Yi Qing Luo woke up, the situation in West Continent was already under control, and slowly stabilized. The West Wave Continent's losses in this battle were actually not too disastrous, because of Yi Qing Luo's relationship with Devil Class. The ones who suffered heavy losses were the dark forces, and the small forces that joined the dark forces. Lung Feng-ing was indeed a sovereign king's talent. After the war ended, he took the opportunity to rope in the various forces that had participated in the war. In the name of the monarch, he set up a banquet to thank them for their help. All of them, regardless of their previous status, they were given various titles according to their performance on the battlefield. Although because of the existence of the 4 great sections, the royal family of each continent was not considered the most noble family. However, he was still the king of the continent. They were second only to the 4 great sections. Being able to obtain a title, the various major forces were also very satisfied. Furthermore, it was also because of this battle. The relationship between the major forces had also become a step closer. Gradually, it evolved into a situation of mutual cooperation and mutual restraint. In this way, the Western continent became much more peaceful. When she saw the 2 forces' big bosses, who used to not interact with each other, now had their arms around each other's shoulders, coming to the old residence, saying to thank Yi Qing Luo for her contribution to the Western continent. Yi Qing Luo's mind, which had just regained consciousness, was still in a daze. Star. Chapter 2050. Yi Qing Luo went into a daze. A certain man who was standing beside her instantly emitted an extremely low pressure. Originally they were still smiling as they kept on praising Yi Qing Luo and expressing their gratitude, but now they felt a chill down their spines. Their vision slowly shifted to the side of the bed, towards that man dressed in a purple robe, who looked like a banished immortal. They silently shut their mouths, succumbing to the overlord's might, timidly indicating that they were prepared to leave. Yi Qing Luo stretched out her hand to tug Mo Xian's arm, but she had just fallen asleep and had no energy at all. This raised hand didn't even touch the white veil in front of her, as it drooped down softly. When her hand softly fell back onto the bed, Ji Yunshu's eyes widened. Mo Xian's large palm wrapped around her little hand in time. Yi Qing Luo held his large palm and gently squeezed it. Following that, she smiled and looked at the 2 people standing by the door through the veil, speaking softly. Thank you both for your concern. I'm indebted to both of you for thinking highly of me. I've just woken up and my body is not feeling well. I hope both of you can forgive me. The two powerhouses' bosses nodded repeatedly. It's all right, were the ones disturbing Miss Ye's rest. After the two leaders of the forces left, Yi Qingtong's eyes lit up. Mo Xian's cold voice was heard from the room. Mo Yuing, go tell Long Yunjian and Tong Ziqing. If anyone else were to come, both of them will receive them. Don't bother Lil Luo, with these trivial matters. The two powerhouses' bosses at the door shuddered. This should be the first time they were told about trivial matters. The key point was that they didn't dare to get angry. Of course, they didn't feel any displeasure. Instead, he secretly sighed in his heart. The overlord really dotes on his wife. Only a woman like Miss Yi, who has descended from the mortal world, can be a match for the overlord. Yes. Suddenly a soft voice, but the tone was extremely stiff, rang behind them like a ghost. The two powerhouses were so scared that they almost screamed out loud. They looked towards the direction of the voice. Unknowingly, a pink loli had appeared behind him. She looked like a pink dumpling. She looked sweet and extremely adorable. However, he had an expressionless face, a pair of empty and soulless eyes, and a body that was as stiff as a corpse, ghost. The two of them didn't care about their status as powerhouses as they screamed and ran away. Mo Yuing stared at their backs as she stiffly raised her hand and touched her face. She tilted her head and blinked her cute big eyes. Am I really very scary? She froze on the spot for a moment. She moved her head once again. I'd better bring Di Zun's words to the class monitor and Sister Ziqing. Overlord might really make her very scary. The overlord might really turn her into a very scary person. Inside the house, Yiqing Luo stared at Mo Xian resentfully. Ajan was almost captured by those people from that domain on the battlefield, and he's also seriously injured. How can we let him receive those powerhouses' bosses? Luo Yi Xian Yi Luo Shao and said, Ling 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 Luo Ming God. Yi Ling Luo Ling Yi Di Yi Luo Chen Luo Ling Long, and Ling Chen Luo. He Luo King and he at Ling Luo Chen Ling Ling Luo. Luo Yi Yi Yi, Yi, Yi R. Yi Ling Luo Yi. Chapter 2051. The smile on the corners of Yiqing Luo's lips gradually faded. After a long time, she laughed lightly. I know, even if I have the legendary overlord as my backing, it still cannot stop the expansion of humans' ambition. She held Mo Xian's hand as she slowly leaned against the headboard. I have a god relic, a sacred beast, and an extremely powerful mirage beast. Moreover, I have a bunch of brave and good fighters. A team of brothers who will definitely grow to a terrifying height in future. Behind me, not only Heavenly Academy, there's Guiyu, there's Ghost Doctor. There's also the main hospital, plus an alchemist guild, Mu family and Shi family, as well as those powerhouses and you. Her voice was very soft. So soft that if one didn't listen carefully, one wouldn't be able to hear what she was saying clearly. All these are really the highest honor. Guess, how many people because of me will have their ambitions stirred? Yiqing Luo smiled sweetly, as though the person she was talking about wasn't herself. Mo Xian sighed softly. The solemn expression on his face also dissipated a little. He understood his Lil Luo. Naturally he could tell that Lil Luo really didn't put it in her heart. His Lil Luo was really different from other ladies. Yiqing Luo tilted her head as she looked at Mo Xian's peerless face with a light smile. A good-looking man, no matter how one looked, one would never get tired of him. No matter how one looked, she wanted to press him down fiercely. 18 types of teasing displayed on him. Alas, it was probably because she had overdrawn the god relic's energy, causing her profound heart jade to be out of control. When she woke up, she only had the chance to stare at Mo Xian with her eyes. The young lady's naked, undisguised gaze made Mo Xian unable to restrain his laughter. His slender fingers touched Yiqing Luo's forehead as he poked hard. You've just woken up. What nonsense are you thinking about again? Want to sleep with you? Yiqing Luo replied without any hesitation. Her eyes sparkled as she blinked. not concealing the thought of sleeping with Emotion. Emotion's smile grew wider. Which lady would talk about sleeping with him? Especially the meaning of this sleep. It was especially broad and profound. You can think about it after your body recovers. Emotion's hand slid to her cheek as he pinched it harshly. I haven't even settled the score with you. How dare you not listen to me and forcefully use the power of the god relic? Do you really think that you're an iron wall? Won't I be devoured by the divine artifact? Yi Qing Luo cried out in pain as her eyes filled with tears, looking at Emotion pitifully. Activate your ultimate skill. The ultimate move of acting cute. Emotion took the bait and released her face. He stretched out his long arm and pulled her into his embrace. He said in a bad mood, "You're always messing around. You clearly know that your profound heart jade is very likely to cause a backlash if you're not careful. How dare you joke around with your own life? Can't I say a few words to you? It was an emergency, I couldn't do anything." Yi Qing Luo put on a pitiful expression and continued to use her ultimate move. "Isn't Feng Ling hooked now? Wait till I get the tranquil bead. Then I won't be afraid anymore." Emotion didn't look at her as he hardened his voice. "Even if you get the tranquil pearl, you're not allowed to mess around like today. Otherwise," he suppressed his voice, revealing a bit of magnetism, "I'll make it so that you won't be able to get off the bed and mess around outside." Yi Qing Luo's cheeks flushed red as she shrunk her body into the quilt, but her mouth refused to show weakness. All right, I want to see whether it's you who can't get off the bed or me who can't get off the bed. Star. Chapter 2052. Emotion's eyes dimmed. His Adam's apple moved. Suddenly he leaned forward and pressed on top of Yi Qing Luo. A head full of black hair cascaded down. The soft hair brushed past Yi Qing Luo's face. The feeling it brought was like a feather, teasing her bit by bit. Yi Qing Luo's heart skipped a few beats. Her eyes stared unblinkingly at Emotion's handsome face, which was just inches away from her. On purpose. His magnetic hoarse voice was mellow like fine wine, exuding an intoxicating charm. Yi Qing Luo's cheeks flushed red, her eyelashes fluttered, not saying a word. Yes, she was teasing him on purpose. Deliberately when Emotion could only look but not eat. Using words to provoke him. Who asked him to release such a strong masculine hormone every time? After he seduced her and made her fall head over heels for him, he wouldn't let her have it. Now, it was time to let him have a taste of the feeling of only looking but not eating. Emotion's thin lips curled upwards. That devilish arc added a bit of demonic charm to him. His peach blossom eyes seemed to carry thousands of charming lights. Like a poppy, constantly tempting Yi Qing Luo's vision. He obviously saw through Yi Qing Luo's thoughts. But on purpose. Teasing Yi Qing Luo with even more strength. It was just a smile, but it had already made Yi Qing Luo throw away her armor, her heart thumping wildly. You tormenting little demoness. You're the one who is doing it on purpose. Yi Qing Luo stuffed her head back into the blanket as she curled up and cried out loudly. Ow, 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 no energy, no energy. You're still trying to seduce me. Must you force me to attack my heart with lust? Emotion was taken aback by such an earth-shattering remark. After a while he shook his head helplessly. Only a shocking woman like you dares to say such words so straightforwardly. Yi Qing Luo snorted and moved towards the bedside. You're my man, I want you, desire you. Isn't this a matter of course? Since you want it, why can't you say it? She moved a little. Her body bumped into Emotion's arms on both sides of her. Yi Qing Luo could only give up on escaping as she wrapped herself in the blanket again. If there comes a day when I don't want you, or don't crave for you anymore, I reckon you will start to reflect on whether you're not handsome enough to attract me anymore. It was as if he was imagining that scene. Yi Qing Luo couldn't help but burst out laughing. She was just saying it casually. Emotion took it seriously. His expression sunk as his 5 fingers suddenly clasped Yi Qing Luo's lower jaw tightly. A pair of black obsidian, dazzling peach blossom eyes stared unblinkingly at the girl beneath him. How dare you? His tone was tense as he stared at her. If you don't want me, I'll. It was rare to see such a lofty, noble, an elegant man behaving like a child. Yi Qing Luo also harbored some thoughts of teasing. She deliberately raised her eyebrows and snorted. "What about you? Do you want to kill me?" He tightened his grip on her chin. However, he controlled himself well, and did not hurt her. Suddenly he leaned forward. His scorching hot body was tightly pressed against hers. His head drooped onto her shoulder. The man's low husky magnetic voice drifted into her ear. "Otherwise I'll trap you on the bed, making you never get tired of my body." "You." Yi Qing Luo's face flushed red again. Damn it. He's playing this trick again. She would become so desperate to sleep with Dmo Xian. She must have been led astray by Dmo Xian. Bam! The tightly shut door was suddenly pushed open, and a few figures rushed into the room in a hurry. Star. Chapter 2053. Luo girl, I heard that you used up your profound heart jade again. He didn't finish his words. The voice stopped abruptly, rushing through the night from South Tide Continent. The minute he returned, he heard the details of Yi Qing Luo's great battle. Ghost Doctor, who was extremely worried, was stunned. Gui Wu, Zhou Mo, as well as Kitty Li, who was in Zhou Mo's embrace, were all stunned. On the bed, the white muslin fluttered. A man and a woman, one above and one below, although separated by a layer of quilt. Although they were all dressed neatly, however, this gender, this location, and this posture, no matter what, it was impossible for people to not think about it. Stinking brat. What are you doing? Ghost Doctor reacted and immediately rushed forward in a flustered and exasperated manner, grabbing onto Dmo Xian's collar, lifting him up and throwing him to one side. A group of people suddenly rushed into the room. Dmo Xian was also stunned. When the Ghost Doctor rushed over, he couldn't react in time. It was only when the Ghost Doctor grabbed onto his collar that he snapped back to his senses. In the instant that the Ghost Doctor flung him out, he steadied himself and stood steadily in a corner of the room. Ghost Doctor's face sunk as he pulled up the veil and immediately pointed at Dmo Xian as he rebuked angrily. Lass Luo's profound heart jade has been depleted, and her body is so weak that even an ant can't be pinched to death. You actually want to take advantage of her when she's down? Is that all you can think about? Dmo Xian was dumbfounded by the scolding. Gui Wu coughed lightly. What the Ghost Doctor said is extremely true. Di Zun, your actions this time were indeed inappropriate. Zhou Mo's phoenix eyes were filled with thick banter and ridicule. Overlord, this young master isn't as impatient as you. Why can't you control your lower body? Qing Luo's current body is not able to take up your demands. That's right. Each person's sentence made Dmo Xian's expression turn gloomier and gloomier. The atmosphere in the room instantly turned gloomy. Everyone felt a chill run down their spines. Their mocking words were stuck in their throats. Cough, cough, cough. We actually just wanted to see how Qing Luo's body is, and from the looks of it, she should be fine. Zhou Mo shrank his neck. A grown man knows when to yield and when to stand tall. He was no match for Dmo Xian. He decisively admitted defeat. He hugged Kitty Li tightly and moved towards the door. I've just eaten a mouthful of dog food, and now I'm going to spread dog food everywhere with my little wild cat. Bah! Who wants to show off their affection to you? Kitty Li glared at him in annoyance. Other than you, who else is in yours truly's embrace? Zhou Mo lowered his head and smiled wickedly as he whispered into Kitty Li's ear. Could it be that you really want this young master to show off his affection to other women? You. Kitty Li bit her lips as her cat eyes flickered with rage. Zhou Mo laughed heartily. Be good, be good. Don't be jealous, little wild cat. I will only flaunt my affection with you. Kitty Li glared at him. Kitty wants to reject you. Zhou Mo held Kitty Li in one hand and touched his extremely devilish face with the other. I'm so handsome, elegant and elegant. I'm a handsome man with both beauty and talent. How am I ugly? It's ugly everywhere. This pair of sweet and childish lovers left the room just like that. It was these two people who broke the awkward atmosphere in the room. Ghost Doctor's expression was still extremely ugly. He stood by the bedside as his eyes were filled with disapproval. He stared at Dmo Xian and Yi Qing Luo. He looked as though he couldn't wait to strangle the both of them. Master Ghost Doctor. Yi Qing Luo's soft voice was filled with a coquettish tone. You've misunderstood. Xian and I are not like what you think. Star. Chapter 2054. It was still alright if he didn't mention it. The minute it was mentioned, Ghost Doctor wanted to explode again. Not what I thought. Then what is it? Don't you know your own body best? Allowing that overlord to do anything to you. Don't you know how to reject? Ghost Doctor was fuming as he grabbed Yi Qing Luo's wrist, checking her pulse. Why did I waste so much time on you? Is this how you repay me? Since you don't care about your own body, then what am I still doing here? I might as well return to my pill refining room to refine my pills. He was obviously scolding her, but his actions obviously showed that he was still feeling heartache for Yi Qing Luo. His mouth was sharp, but his heart was soft. Yi Qing Luo heard Ghost Doctor's accusation, but didn't rebuke him. Instead, she looked at Ghost Doctor with a light smile. When Ghost Doctor's gaze looked over, Yi Qing Luo's pair of charming eyes would blink, showing an extreme grievance. Ghost Doctor watched and watched. In the end, he was defeated by Yi Qing Luo's big move. He released Yi Qing Luo's wrist and sighed. Lass, your innate talent is very strong and your body is born with a profound jade heart, which makes others envious. But you must remember one thing, your body is after all a mortal's body. Your current body, especially the damaged profound jade heart, is totally unable to take on any energy which exceeds your body's capacity. Do you know, if it wasn't for that overlord, that fellow's exhaustion this time? Cough, cough, cough. DMO Xian, who had been standing in the corner with a gloomy face, suddenly coughed violently. That dry and loud cough interrupted Ghost Doctor's words. Ghost Doctor stared at DMO Xian unhappily. Seeing DMO Xian touching his throat, as he kept on coughing, he seemed to have understood something. Turning his head back, he looked at Yi Qing Luo and changed the topic. Anyway, lass, if there's a next time, even if it's the great Luo deity, he won't be able to save you. Yi Qing Luo listened to Ghost Doctor's words seriously. Naturally, she didn't miss out on the two words overlord that he intentionally mentioned earlier. DMO Xian's cough was so dry, so obvious. Who didn't know that he intentionally wanted to interrupt Ghost Doctor's words? Yi Qing Luo pursed her pink lips. Ghost Doctor Master, say this time round, if it's not because of Xian, then what? What is it that you haven't finished saying? Did Xian, for me? The Ghost Doctor averted her gaze and coughed unnaturally. Lil Luoer, don't listen to that old man's nonsense. Look at me, what can happen to me? DMO Xian stopped coughing and walked over to the bedside. He opened his hands and looked at Yi Qing Luo calmly. The man's purple robe fluttered. It glistened with flowing light, as if it was plated with a layer of purple luster, and it was exquisite and noble. Yi Qing Luo looked at DMO Xian, who was smiling calmly. Her expression grew increasingly unsightly. Lifting her charming eyes, she stared at DMO Xian coldly without blinking, and said word by word, "You shut up." DMO Xian's smile froze as his thin lips moved, but when he met with Yi Qing Luo's serious expression, he still stopped his voice. Master Ghost Doctor, please speak. Yi Qing Luo slowly shifted her gaze towards Ghost Doctor. She was very clear that if DMO Xian were to say it, there was a possibility that he would bluff her away. The Master Ghost Doctor never lied, and he disdained to lie. Ghost Doctor took a look at DMO Xian before he opened his mouth. I've already said this the last time. That battle with King of Darkness had seriously damaged your control over your profound heart jade. If you're not careful, you will suffer the backlash from the profound heart jade. Chapter 2055. Although the pendant that Di Zun gave you can temporarily suppress the power of your profound jade heart, you forcefully used up the power of the divine tool twice this time. The Ghost Doctor's expression was extremely grave. Once again, you allowed the divine phoenix profound heart jade to control your body. Although this kind of domination was due to the divine phoenix profound heart jade's protective consciousness. However, Yi Qing Luo's mortal body simply could not withstand the power of the divine phoenix profound heart jade. Ghost Doctor's gaze shifted onto Dmo Xian once again. If it wasn't for Di Zun expending 30% of his profound strength to help you suppress the backlash from the profound jade heart, you wouldn't have been able to hold on until now. Yi Qing Luo drew in a breath of cold air as her expression froze. Lil Luo. Dmo Xian looked at Yi Qing Luo's pale face as he looked at her with heartache. I'm fine. It's just 30% profound energy. It's not enough to affect my body. I just need to rest for a few days, and I'll be able to fully recover. Yi Qing Luo shook her head. She pursed her pink lips tightly as she raised her eyes and stared fixedly at Dmo Xian. Her little face was pale, and her breathing was a little hurried. The ghost doctor and Gui Wu, who had yet to speak, could only stand up and quietly leave the room, leaving the space for the two youngsters. I'll go take a look at Xiao Yi. You follow Ziqing and find a room to stay in first. It looks like you won't be able to bring her with you in such a short time. The ghost doctor dragged Gui Wu towards the door. Gui Wu was helpless and could only do so. In the room, only Dmo Xian and Yi Qing Luo were left. Dmo Xian walked over, and both his knees were placed on the side of the bed as he lowered his eyes to look at her. Lil Luo, don't look at me like that. I'm really fine. You can take my pulse and use your method to check on my body. His hand stretched out in front of her. The man's wrist was extremely sexy. It was as if his warmth could be transmitted from his wrist. Yi Qing Luo fixed her gaze on the wrist in front of her. His breath sprayed on the top of her head. Yi Qing Luo's eyes reddened inexplicably. My skills are too shallow, if you don't want me to tell. Even if I take your pulse, I won't be able to tell anything. This lass, she really understood his personality. Dmo Xian helplessly curled his thin lips as he placed his hand on her head. Then he moved closer to the bed and sat down. The girl was still angry. She snorted and turned her head away. But that didn't stop him from getting closer. Or rather, she didn't have the strength to stop him. Lil Luo, if I didn't expend my profound energy to help you suppress the profound heart jade, the person in trouble right now would be you. Moreover, the price you will pay is very likely to be your life. As for me, I've only used up a small portion of my profound energy, and it doesn't affect my body at all. I only know that if I lose you, if I don't have you by my side in the future, that would be the most unbearable thing for me. It would be more painful than death. A teardrop fell on the bedding. She lowered her head, unable to stop her tears from flowing. The man panicked even more. Flustered, he helped her wipe the tears off her face. His voice became gentler and gentler as he coaxed her. The more he coaxed her, the more her tears flowed. I'm not blaming you. I'm angry at myself. The young girl choked with sobs as her voice was soft. She held Dmo Xian's palm tightly. His scorching and wide palms made her feel as if she was being cherished in his palms. Her heart was beating wildly. The gentler Dmo Xian was, the more guilty she felt. Star. Chapter 2056. If it weren't for her stubbornness, Dmo Xian would also not exhaust his own profound energy and help her suppress the agitation of her profound heart jade. You still have matters to settle in the Imperial Palace. Your existence represents the power of the Imperial Palace. There are too many people in the dark who want to take you down. If those people know that you have lost 30% of your profound strength, they will definitely take the opportunity to lay their hands on you. Saying that, Yi Qing Luo's voice was slightly trembling. She stretched out her hand and grabbed hold of Dmo Xian's sleeve as she raised her head. Her reddened eyes were sparkling with tears. Ah Xian, before you recover your profound energy, don't leave the old mansion. The old mansion was overseen by Ghost Doctor, Ghost Warrior and Ghost Yu. There was also Zoe Mo, whose background was unknown. Moreover, the Brothers of World Connect were all here. This was the safest place. Even if there were people with ulterior motives who wanted to take the opportunity to find trouble with Dmo Xian, they could also take care of each other. Dmo Xian's finger gently brushed past the corner of her eye as he spoke tenderly. Silly Luo, you still don't believe in my ability? Even if I lose 30% of my profound strength, No one in the Nirvana realm can harm me in the slightest. But I'm scared. Yi Qing Luo didn't know where the strength came from, but she stretched out her hand and hugged Diemo Xian's waist. Ah Xian, I'm sorry. I'm too capricious. I've become too dependent on you under your unconditional pampering. It was precisely because he knew that no matter what kind of danger she was in, he would never let her go. Diemo Xian would always be by her side. He wanted to clear away all of her worries. I'm your man, isn't it a matter of course for you to rely on me? Diemo Xian caressed her hair. But if I rely on you too much, I'll easily lose myself. Yi Qing Luo raised her head. Her reddened eyes were extremely bright. She stared at Diemo Xian's peach blossom eyes. Ah Xian, I've said it before. I want to be on par with you. I want to become a woman who is qualified enough to stand by your side. It's impossible for you to coincidentally appear by my side all the time. If I'm too used to relying on you, what should I do if you're not around? Little Luo, Diemo Xian's thin lips moved. He wanted to say that no matter what, he would always be by her side. But on second thought he remembered his own identity. He had already decided that Lil Luo was his future. In the future, Lil Luo would have to accept everything from him. If Lil Luo could only rely on him to live, their future would become extremely difficult. Ah Xian. Yi Qing Luo suddenly left his embrace as she raised her head and looked at him seriously. Her pair of charming eyes were bright and full of determination. When I reach the mystic rank, will I be able to transform my body and leave my mortal body? Cultivation was a way to transform the human body. It was just like when she used the marrow cleansing pill to reconstruct her meridians. After cultivating, his body, which had been tortured for the past 15 years, was completely healed and became extremely sturdy. Moreover, after cultivating to the sky profound realm, one would be able to slow down their aging process and even retain their youth forever. It could be seen that the profound rank could affect a person's body. Otherwise, in the future, when her profound rank once again broke through to the sky profound realm, wouldn't her body still be unable to withstand the burden of the sky profound realm and above? Diemo Xian's eyes met with hers. His shimmering peach blossom eyes seemed to contain a pool of spring water. Sky profound is the lower realm's highest profound rank. Diemo Xian slowly explained. Have you noticed that when the cultivators release their profound qi, there will be a difference in color, which is their profound rank? Star. Chapter 2057. Yi Qing Luo nodded. I've noticed it. Her profound heart jade could detect the profound heart jade of a profound practitioner with a higher profound rank than her. She could also see through the other party's profound rank with a single glance. She distinguished those profound grades based on their color and the star patterns beneath their feet. For example, the yellow color of Huang Xian. It was a mysterious red. The earthy color of the earth Xian. The blue of the profound sky continent. Every time these profound ranks went up a rank, a 5-pointed star would appear beneath their feet. After entering the 5th grade of the sky profound realm, the color of your profound energy will disappear, and you will enter the colorless realm. No matter who it is, they will not be able to distinguish your level. Diemo Xian nodded his head and continued to explain. After the sky profound realm is the legend realm. Legend? Yi Qing Luo mumbled these 2 words as her heart tightened. That's right, it's a myth. Diemo Xian's voice was rather gloomy. After sky profound, it's virtuous profound, spirit profound, revered profound. Only 3 profound grades? Yi Qing Luo was puzzled. After reaching the sage Xian realm, it will automatically be divided into 15 grades, and each grade is divided into 3 levels. The early stage of the 1st grade, the middle stage of the 1st grade, and the peak of the 1st grade. The difference in strength between each stage is equivalent to the difference between the earth profound realm and the sky profound realm. Yi Qing Luo's eyes widened. 15 ranks. Every grade is divided into 3 levels. The difference in strength between each level was equivalent to ascending from an earth Xian to a sky Xian? Oh my god. It was too terrifying. Was this the Almighty's world? When you reach the sage plane, You will attract the heavenly law lightning tribulation. Once you pass through the lightning tribulation, your body will be reconstructed, and you will completely break away from your mortal body. Dmo Xian tightened his grip on Yiqing Luo's hand. Lil Luo'er, based on your innate talent, it's not difficult for you to reach the level of sage profound. If you want to grow, I will not stop you. He paused for a moment as he held Yiqing Luo's hand and placed it by his lips as he kissed it. You only need to remember one thing. No matter how tough the road ahead is, I will always be here. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curved upwards as she revealed a smile. I will definitely become stronger. The ghost doctor went to Yin Xiaoyi's room. After taking Yin Xiaoyi's pulse, Xiao Jin handed over the antidote that Dao Yegan had handed over to the ghost doctor. The ghost doctor took a whiff. I need some time to confirm it. For now, let's follow the prescription from before and boil the medicine for her to stabilize the poison in her body. Xiao Jin nodded solemnly. Thank you, Lord Ghost Doctor. The ghost doctor gave him a few reminders. Then, she took the antidote and went to the medicine-making room that God Pirate had specially built. Xiao Jin took the prescription and brewed the medicine with extreme precision. After brewing the medicine, Xiao Jin carried the medicinal soup and walked to the bedside. When Yin Xiaoyi saw Xiao Jin approaching, her face revealed a joyful expression. But when she saw the medicinal soup in Xiao Jin's hands, her entire face turned bitter. He couldn't help but complain. The medicinal soup that the ghost doctor made wasn't just ordinarily disgusting. It wasn't just ordinarily bitter. Previously at the general hospital, she was forced to eat 2 bowls a day. It was even more disgusting than eating shit. Yin Xiaoyi covered her head and hid under the blanket. She said, I won't drink it even if you beat me to death. Xiao Jin also knew that the taste of this medicinal soup was really hard to swallow. But for the sake of Yin Xiaoyi's body, Yin Xiaoyi must finish this bowl of medicine, especially in the afternoon. When he heard from Dao Yegan that the poison in Yin Xiaoyi's body would cause Yin Xiaoyi to become weaker and weaker, and finally turn into a puddle of corpse water, his heart couldn't help but twitch faintly in pain. Xiaoyi, be good, finish this bowl of medicine first. After you finish, you can do whatever you want. Xiao Jin coaxed her in a warm voice. Not drinking. Yin Xiaoyi covered herself under the blanket as she shook her head furiously. Making me drink it every day. My entire body is bitter now. Star. Chapter 2058. Xiao Jin placed the medicine aside. His eyes were filled with helplessness as he looked at Yin Xiaoyi, who was covered in the blanket, looking like a child. He seemed to have understood. Why was Qing Luo so unbridled in front of them? But in front of an overlord, she would show off her womanly demeanor. Was it because a woman would reveal her true nature in front of the man she loved? Yin Xiaoyi was the same, which meant that he, Xiao Jin, was the man whom Yin Xiaoyi had acknowledged, the man she loved. This knowledge made the smile on Xiao Jin's face deepen by several notches. What are you smiling at? Yin Xiaoyi lifted a corner of the blanket as she secretly peeked at Xiao Jin. She discovered that Xiao Jin was staring at her with a rippling smile. Yin Xiaoyi only felt that Xiao Jin was mocking her for being afraid of the bitter taste. Immediately, her cheeks flushed red as she popped out her little head and stared at him. Slut Jin, you're not allowed to smile. Xiao Jin's smile became even more joyful. That unprepossessing face made that pair of obsidian eyes shine brightly, even if he wasn't handsome. But this smile made Yin Xiaoyi's cheeks turn even redder. This was no longer the redness of embarrassment, but the redness of shyness. Yin Xiaoyi thought that this was probably the ancient saying, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. In her eyes, no matter what expression Xiao Jin had, what action, what look, his words could make her heart beat faster. She actually loved Xiao Jin so much. Xiaoyi, I have a way to reduce the bitter taste. Do you want to try? Xiao Jin's eyes were burning as he stared at Yin Xiaoyi's red face. Yin Xiaoyi pouted as she snorted. Candied fruit? I've already used this method, and it can't cover up the bitter taste. Xiao Jin's thin lips curled upwards as he smiled like a sly fox. When have I ever lied to you? Be good, drink the medicine and I'll tell you, all right? His voice was very gentle. His coaxing tone made Yin Xiaoyi's heart warm up. Yin Xiaoyi pursed her lips. She knew clearly that she had to drink this medicine. If they continued on like this, when the medicine turned cold, it would probably be even more bitter. She had no choice but to bite the bullet and drink the entire bowl of medicinal soup. The bitter taste filled her entire mouth. A nauseous feeling surged in his chest. Yin Xiaoyi's pale face instantly turned into an emaciated look. Her brows were tightly knitted together, and her facial features were twisted into a ball, due to the bitterness in her heart. Slut Jean, I'm warning you, if your method doesn't work, I'll definitely. Ugh. Yin Xiaoyi was irritated by the bitter taste. Before he could finish, her body, along with the bedding, was suddenly lifted up. She had already fallen into Qiao Jin's embrace. Before he could react, Yin Xiaoyi's jaw is pinched by the wrapping fingers. A kiss landed on her lips. There were still a few drops of medicine on her lips. Yin Xiaoyi reacted and wanted to struggle. However, Qiao Jin's hand suddenly pressed on the back of her head and deepened the kiss. Yin Xiaoyi's breathing became unstable. The taste of the man invaded her mouth. A numbing sensation caused an obscure electric current to run through his body. He kissed her hard. Her body went limp, and she lost all her strength. After an unknown period of time, until Yin Xiaoyi had forgotten how to breathe, only then did Qiao Jin release her swollen lips. He lowered his eyes and looked at the blushing, seductive woman in his arms. He licked his thin lips and said with a smile, "Is the bitterness gone?" Yin Xiaoyi's face turned even redder. Her small hands were placed on his burning hot chest, and the corners of her eyes were stained with a thin mist. She was so embarrassed that she couldn't even speak. Star. Chapter 2059. What happened to being a blockhead? Why did he transform into a wolf after confirming their relationship? Isn't this method good? Don't tell me, it's still bitter? Seeing Yin Xiaoyi's flushed face and ears, Qiao Jin had the thought of teasing her, and asked with a low laugh. Yin Xiaoyi gripped his collar tightly, and gritted her teeth. Slut Jean. Qiao Jin's slender fingers pressed against her red and swollen lips. Call me a Jean. A Jean. Yin Xiaoyi's face turned even redder. She lowered her eyes and avoided his burning hot fingers. No. Just because you want me to do it? Then wouldn't I lose face? Xiaoyi. Qiao Jin's tone was gentle, and carried a hint of coquettishness. Yin Xiaoyi shuddered. Forgive her. She really couldn't control Qiao Jin, who acted like a spoiled child. Why does it look a little painful to the eyes? Xiaoyi. Qiao Jin called out again. His wide and thick palm followed Yin Xiaoyi's waist and gently moved. Yin Xiaoyi trembled even more violently. This blockhead. Just where did he learn such a weird move? Tell me why first. Qiao Jin's eyes were tinged with a smile. Do you still remember? The Heavenly Academy specially set up a strength test to prevent us from participating in the interclass competition. Yin Xiaoyi nodded. That illusion. Qiao Jin moved closer to her ear, his voice low and hoarse. He told Yin Xiaoyi about the test of strength, and everything that he had experienced in the illusion realm, in a concise and yet extremely alluring manner. The more she listened, the redder Yin Xiaoyi's face became. In the middle, Yin Xiaoyi covered her ears and hammered Qiao Jin's chest, scolding Qiao Jin for being a pervert. As he cursed, he still couldn't stop Qiao Jin's words. After Qiao Jin finished speaking, he added with a face full of regret. I wonder when the illusion will become real. Slut Jin. Yin Xiaoyi shrunk back, and wanted to bury her head in the blanket again. Who is this big pervert? She didn't know him. Her Qiao Jin was clearly a blockhead. Xiaoyi. Qiao Jin reacted quickly, and pulled her into his embrace. He lowered his head and pressed his forehead against hers. His voice was extremely gentle. It's okay. I won't force you. This title belongs only to you. You can call me that whenever you want. Forehead to forehead. Their eyes met. The man's warm breath sprayed on her skin. Her body temperature continued to rise. She bit her lip and called out softly, Ah Jin. Amen. Qiao Jin's eyes curved into crescents as he tightened his grip. Yin Xiaoyi straightened her back, her beautiful eyes staring at Qiao Jin for a while. She lowered her head and kissed his lips. I still feel bitter. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Yiqing Luo's body had fully recovered. She didn't suffer any serious injuries. It was just that the dark force in his body was overly exhausted. These 3 days under Dmo Xian's rearing like rearing pigs. Not only did Yiqing Luo's body recover, she had also gained a few kilograms. Looking at the extra flesh on her waist, Yiqing Luo had a look of despair. Dmo Xian shot a glance at Yiqing Luo's non-existent little Ruru. Where's the meat? It's still too flat. If you want meat, I'll stuff a piece into your stomach, how about that? How could Yiqing Luo not understand the meaning behind Dmo Xian's words? She glared at him. Don't even think about it. Dmo Xian, I'm warning you, if you dare to do that, I'll strangle you to death. Looking at the young lady's serious look, Dmo Xian rubbed her head. Then be good and finish this bowl of medicinal soup. This is the new trick you used to force me to drink these nourishing tonics in the name of nourishing my body. But in actual fact it's to force me to put on weight. Yiqing Luo's eyes opened wide. Dmo Xian nodded with a smile. And I, ma, star. Chapter 2060. She admitted defeat. Drink. Yiqing Luo had a look of facing death calmly, as she raised her head and drank the greasy tonic into her mouth. She didn't even have the thought of tasting it as she directly swallowed it. This thing, she drank it once or twice. It was delicious. But for 3 consecutive days, she drank 3 bowls a day. No matter who it was, they would be sick of it. But that treacherous scoundrel man always had 100 ways to force her to drink those tonics. Dmo Xian's eyes were calm as his peach blossom eyes were filled with a faint warm smile. Looking at the young lady who braced herself to face death calmly, he smiled helplessly as he doted on her. It looked like this young lass was still very resistant towards pregnancy. But it was true. This young lass was only 15 years old. She still had her own ambitions and future to pursue. It was indeed too early to talk about children. After drinking the tonic, Yiqing Luo generously placed the bowl in Dmo Xian's hands. It's settled. Now I'm going out to have fun. Dmo Xian looked at Yiqing Luo's face, which had regained its color as his charming eyes became radiant. He didn't stop her like yesterday as he nodded slightly. Amen. But you have to promise me not to be willful again. You're not coming with me? Yiqing Luo frowned. She had finally managed to stick together with Dmo Xian for the past few days. And he was leaving again? I know you have a lot of small matters to settle, and these matters, you have enough ability to settle them. Dmo Xian pinched her face. The 30% profound energy which was depleted for you has already recovered. You don't need to worry about me. Mentioning that 30% profound energy, Yiqing Luo instantly felt guilty. She lowered her eyes as she pursed her lips. I'm sorry. If it wasn't for her willfulness, Dmo Xian wouldn't have depleted 30% profound energy. If it wasn't for her persuasion, Dmo Xian might have already reorganized the imperial palace when he returned. Here we go again. Dmo Xian raised his finger and tapped her forehead lightly. The imperial palace isn't as important as you. Even if I didn't deplete 30% profound energy, even if you didn't ask me to stay, I would choose to stay by your side and take care of you personally during these 3 days when you were immobile. This man, he was really able to accurately guess what she was thinking at every single moment. Silly Luo heir, don't let your imagination run wild. Dmo Xian rubbed her head. I promised you. I will give you what you want to grow. These few days, perform well for me. I'll be right back. Yiqing Luo raised her head and met with that pair of tender peach blossom eyes. The thick scent of his hormones filled her nostrils. Resolute and cold, it made her feel good. The contours of his face were extremely gentle. His eyes were filled with a smile, and his thin lips were slightly raised. Charming and seductive. Whenever she looked at him, Yiqing Luo had a feeling that her heart was gripped tightly, as though she had lost her soul in an instant. She suppressed the restlessness in her heart as her cheeks blushed. Lowering her eyes, she obediently responded, "In." The young girl's charming appearance made the smile on his lips deepen. Satisfied, he wrapped his arms around the girl's delicate body, bent down, and kissed her pink lips. Their lips touched, carrying a strong masculine scent. Yi Qingluo had yet to react. A cool breeze brushed past his cheeks. In front of him, there was no longer a man's figure. All that was left was his unique sandalwood scent, as it diffused in the room. Yi Qingluo froze on the spot, as her slender fingers caressed her pink lips. The corners of her lips still had remnants of his warmth. She smiled lightly, her eyes filled with satisfaction. This man was afraid that she couldn't control herself, so he intentionally slipped away so quickly. Star. Chapter 2061. Yi Qingluo tidied herself up once again. Facing the bronze mirror, she looked left and right to ascertain that the redness on her face had subsided before she walked out of the room. It was already winter time, and it was drizzling outside. The cool breeze brushed against her face, and Yi Qingluo felt refreshed. Mo Yuing, who was guarding outside the door, tilted her head and said flatly, "Qingluo, the weather is cold. You should wear a cape." "No problem." Yi Qingluo smiled as she caressed Mo Yuying's head. "Has Xiao Yi's poison been neutralized?" Mo Yuing raised her hand and slowly smoothed her messy hair as she replied blankly, "And neutralized." Looked like the antidote given by Dao Yigan was real. At least he was sensible. Otherwise, she would really bring Dmo Xian along and make a trip to Godless Island. "Are you going to see Xiao Yi?" After she neutralized the poison, she was brought out by Jin Zi, saying that she wanted to enjoy some alone time. Mo Yuing continued, "To alone time?" From her point of view, those two were afraid that she would bring Dmo Xian along to show off their affection. Yi Qingluo smiled as she shook her head. "Then let them enjoy their time. I'll make a trip back to Three Springs Sect first. After all, Three Springs Sect should have a leader now." "Qingluo is going to hold the sect leader succession ceremony?" Mo Yuing was puzzled. If Qingluo becomes Three Springs Sect's sect leader, then what about the World Group Devil class? Yi Qingluo gave a mysterious smile. "Don't worry, no matter what I become, I will always be a member of the World Group and Devil class." Looking at Mo Yuying's lowly face, Yi Qingluo couldn't help but stretched out her hand and caressed it. "Good shadow. Later bring the brothers to Three Springs Sect to watch the show." Leaving this sentence, Yi Qingluo stepped on the breeze and disappeared from the old residence. Three Springs Sect. The Three Springs Sect, which used to be bustling with noise and excitement, was now extremely quiet. When Yi Qingluo stepped into Three Springs Sect, she didn't see anyone coming forward to welcome her. Yi Qingluo faintly frowned as she looked at the few of them walking around dispiritedly. She grabbed a young maid and asked, "What happened?" The young maid had a shock. Turning her head to look at Yi Qingluo's face, the young maid's eyes widened as she screamed, "It's young sect master." It was the young sect master. Young sect master was back. Young sect master is back. That shrill voice made Yi Qingluo's eardrums hurt. She picked her ears and stared at the maid. She looked so petite, but her explosive power was actually so strong. Not waiting for the echo in Yi Qingluo's ears to dissipate, suddenly, circles of people swarmed in from all directions. It was none other than Zhang San and Zhang Si from the Three Springs Sect. In the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn. The entire courtyard was surrounded by more than 400 people. "Young sect leader, you're finally back. Young sect master, we all thought that you didn't want us anymore. We thought Three Springs Sect was finished." Sob, sob, sob. I didn't expect young sect master to come back." Everyone cried and complained at the same time. Yi Qingluo expressed that watching a 7 feet tall man sobbing in front of her, this feeling, and was very strange. Stop, stop, stop. Yi Qingluo's eardrums were hurting from all the noise as she raised her hand to interrupt everyone's rambling. "Zhang San, Zhang Si, you guys tell me what's going on? Why do I not want you?" Yi Qingluo's words were heard. The entire place was silent. Zhang San looked at Yi Qingluo emotionally as he spoke with an excited look. Ever since the last battle, young sect master had not returned to Three Springs Sect. We thought thought that young sect master had such a good power like the world group, and was prepared to give up Three Springs sect. Star. Chapter 2062. Zhangxi wiped his tears. Young sect master, do you know how hard it has been for us to wait for you? Stop. Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes. Who in the entire West continent doesn't know that I'm recuperating in the world group's lair? Based on your abilities, how could you not know where I am? Zhang San and Zhang Xi's tearful and agitated voices suddenly stopped. The two of them exchanged glances. Following that, they scratched the back of their heads in embarrassment as they giggled foolishly. Young sect master is wise. Indeed, nothing can be hidden from young sect master's discerning eyes. Tell me what's the matter? Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she ignored their bootlicking. Zhang San looked at the surrounding brothers as he spoke in an extremely embarrassed manner. We indeed know that you're recuperating in the world group's campsite. Zhangxi and I also specially went to the world group to take a look at you. Why haven't I heard that you're here to look for me? If Three Springs sect's people came over, Long Yunzhan and Tong Ziqing would receive them, and would definitely lead them to her room. But these 3 days, Yiqing Luo had not heard any news regarding Three Springs sect. We didn't go in. Zhang San and Zhang Xi exchanged glances. After we went to Three Springs sect, we deeply felt that that place is the most suitable place for young sect master. Zhang Xi nodded as the expression on his face gradually turned grave and serious. To young sect master, Three Springs sect actually shouldn't be considered as a good memory. Once when young sect master was in trouble, none of us stood out to help. Now, knowing that young sect master is Ye's 7th miss, we still chose to follow second young master, recommending second young master to become Three Springs sect master, helping the dark forces. Almost caused Three Springs sect to bear the infamy for life. Almost destroyed Three Springs sect. Zhang San's expression turned even more serious and solemn. Even if we betrayed young sect master, betrayed Three Springs sect. But young sect master, you still saved Three Springs sect without any hesitation. Saved all of us, giving all of us a chance to repent. Young sect master, I know, we actually don't have the right to make you stay. I can tell that those children in the world group have truly treated you as their family, and are willing to sacrifice their lives for you. But young sect lord, you've already given us a chance to turn over a new leaf. Can you give us another chance to serve Three Springs sect? After the two of them finished talking, in the courtyard, more than 400 people knelt on the ground in unison. Young sect leader, please give us another chance. Give us another chance to serve the Three Springs sect. The voices of more than 400 people were extremely loud and clear. Zhang San and Zhang Xi would never forget it. When they went to the world group's old residence, wanting to meet their young sect master, they saw those 15 to 16-year-old youths fighting to be the first, wanting to do something for their young sect master. They heard the boys and girls arguing. Young sect master seemed to have suffered an extremely serious injury, and required profound practitioners to exhaust their own profound energy to help young sect master suppress something. As profounders, they were naturally most clearly aware of it. He was depleting his profound strength. How much damage would it cause to himself? If it was light, he would need to recuperate for a few months, or even half a year, before he could recover his depleted profound energy. If it was heavy, he would enter chi deviation and lose all his profound energy. But those children, totally disregarding these consequences, all of them were willing to sacrifice their own profound energy to help young sect master suppress it. They asked themselves honestly if it was them. Chapter 2063. In the end, they couldn't compare to those children. Even if young sect master chose the world group and abandoned Three Springs sect, that was a matter of course. After seeing that scene, Zhang San and Zhang Xi didn't have the face to see Yiqing Luo. He returned to the Three Springs sect with his tail between his legs. Then he thought about it. The more he thought about it, the more flustered he became. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that the young sect lord would never return to Three Springs sect. The Three Springs sect no longer had a master. Could it be? Was the Three Springs sect going to fall from the altar? With this thought in mind, everyone in the Three Springs sect spent the next 3 days in trepidation. It was until the 4th day when Yiqing Luo arrived. Yiqing Luo stood in the middle, looking at her surroundings, surrounding her in a tight encirclement. She didn't know what everyone was thinking. She only knew that these people from the Three Springs sect wanted to serve the Three Springs sect from the bottom of their hearts. Her long and narrow eyes curved, and the corners of her mouth curled into a faint smile. She stretched out her hand to help Zhang San and Zhang Si up. What nonsense are you all thinking about? When did I say that I would give up Three Springs sect? But if young sect master inherits Three Springs sect, the world group, and those children? Zhang San and Zhang Si reminded. The leader of the Three Springs sect was not as relaxed as he looked. Yiqing Luo is still a student. He was the vice group leader of the world group. If he inherited the Three Springs sect, most of her time was spent on the Three Springs sect. As for the world group, they probably wouldn't be able to care about them anymore. Yiqing Luo smiled. Who says you can't balance both? She smiled craftily, her eyes shining with a teasing light. All right. You can start preparing for the sect master succession ceremony now. While you're at it, announce it to the West Continent, and invite some people over to liven things up. Pausing for a moment, she considered the time and said, let's tomorrow then. Tomorrow? Zhang San was startled. Isn't that too much of a rush? No. Yiqing Luo waved her hand. West Continent's side should be fine. As for the other continents, we'll just send out a notice to tell them that Three Springs sect has changed hands. Zhang San and Zhang Si. Isn't this a little too casual? However, Yiqing Luo didn't give them any chance to stop her. She had already turned around and walked towards the inner courtyard of the Three Springs sect. The crowd immediately followed. Zhang San and Zhang Si still wanted to persuade him. After all, the enthronement ceremony was a big event for the Three Springs sect. How could he be so careless? However, they did not have the chance to speak again. In front of him, a group of women rushed over. At the very front was a woman with disheveled hair dressed in a white inner garment. She looked like a lunatic. She staggered towards Yiqing Luo. Behind the woman, there were 5 burly old maids. Those old maids were chasing after the woman. The minute the woman saw Yiqing Luo, she immediately screamed angrily. Yiqing Luo, you bitch! You will be struck by lightning. You will not be able to reincarnate. Zhang San was quick to react. When the woman threw herself at him, he took the initiative to kick her away. The woman fell to the ground. She was held on both sides by the old woman, who followed closely behind. When those old maids saw Yiqing Luo, they immediately bowed respectfully. Young sect mistress. Bah! What young sect leader? She was a slut. She is the traitor of the Three Springs sect. The woman screamed madly and struggled with all her might. The old maids held on tightly, and one of them directly slapped the woman's face. How dare you be so presumptuous in front of young sect master? Shut up. That woman's mouth was bleeding from the slap, but she didn't care at all. Under her messy hair, a pair of eyes was filled with an extremely cold murderous intent star. Chapter 2064. However, to Yiqing Luo, that murderous intent was nothing. Yiqing Luo squinted her long and narrow eyes as her lips curled into a cold arc. Isn't this second concubine? Why are you behaving like a crazy woman? After that, her charming eyes turned cold, and she shot her gaze towards the old maids behind the woman. Not waiting for Yiqing Luo to speak, Zhang San was the first to berate them. How did you serve second concubine? How can you behave so crazily? If others see this as a joke, I will hold you responsible. The old maids shivered, except for the 2 old maids who were holding Madame Yuchi. The other old maids all knelt down. Third protector, please spare our lives. It's second concubine who slipped out when we weren't paying attention, she. The minute she heard young sect master's name, she went crazy. We old servants couldn't catch up to her at all. All right, Second concubine got so agitated upon hearing my name. That also means that she was thinking of me all the time, thinking that she couldn't wait to see me. So it's not these old maids' fault. Yi Qing Luo waved her hand, indicating those old maids to get up. The old maids got up gratefully. Madame Yuchi's facial features were sinister. That unwashed face looked extremely haggard, like a 50 to 60-year-old woman. Yi Qing Luo, return my daughter. Return my daughter. Yi Qing Luo, you traitor. You still have delusions of obtaining Three Springs sect. Old madam will absolutely not agree. Absolutely. Madame Yuchi's howling voice had completely turned hoarse. Her eyes were like copper bells filled with malice. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled up slightly, smiling extremely calmly. Second concubine, looks like you've really gone crazy, your daughter. Isn't she long dead? She pushed aside Zhang San and Zhang Si, who were blocking in front of her, as she slowly walked towards Madame Yuchi. Her leisurely footwork, every step she took, like a huge stone, it was thrown into Madame Yuchi's heart. Madame Yuchi's twisted face gradually revealed a terrified expression. Yi Qing Luo stood firm. She was just one step away from Madame Yuchi. She smiled. Her eyes were burning as she gazed at Madame Yuchi, saying word by word, Your Ling long ago, when your eldest daughter, whom you are most proud of, hooked up with the Dark Force Wolf Saint technique. In order to survive, she used your Ling as a shield. Do you know? Your Ling was blown to pieces, not even dregs were left. That Ling was blasted into pieces, not even ashes were left. Madame Yuchi's face turned pale bit by bit. She shook her head crazily, as tears flowed down from her. Ling, it was you. It was you who killed my Ling heir. It Ling. Ling Ling. Ling Ling Ling, Luaness Ling. She Ling. Yi Qing Luo laughed out loud and continued cruelly. Yes, Yi Qing Ling was chased out of Three Springs sect, and was brought to the dark forces by Yi Qing Jian. Using the dark forces sorcery, she gave Yi Qing Ling the ability to control thousands of beasts. But not long ago, Yi Qing Qian caught my brother, trying to trap me in the enchantment. I saw with my own eyes, that eldest daughter of yours, caught Yi Qing Ling in front of me. Then in front of me, she exploded bit by bit, blood and flesh splattered. Ah! Ah! In a frenzy, Madame Yuchi broke free from the two old maids' restraint. She hugged her head, screaming crazily. As she screamed, she sat on the ground, totally unable to accept the contents of Yi Qing Luo's words. In fact, Madame Yuchi was very clear that Yi Qing Luo's words were all true. Chapter 2065. She was absolutely not surprised that Yi Qing Qian would kill Yi Qing Ling in order to survive. Now hearing Yi Qing Luo say it out personally, Madame Yuchi was still unable to accept it. She would rather believe that Yi Qing Ling had died in Yi Qing Luo's hands, than to believe that her own daughter had died in the hands of the eldest daughter, whom she was most proud of. Looking at Madame Yuchi, who was on the verge of breaking down, Yi Qing Luo didn't stop provoking her as her lips curled up slightly as she continued to smile. That's right. I forgot to tell you something. That eldest daughter whom you are so proud of. I'm afraid there's no way for her to save you. The madly howling woman immediately stopped. She stared at Yi Qing Luo with bloodshot eyes filled with hatred and despair, which made one's heart turn cold. You slut! What have you done to Qian? What have you done to Qian? Yi Qing Luo bent over as she looked down at Madame Yuchi, as she gave an extremely cruel smile. Do you know, the reason why Wolf Sacred Dharma dotes on Yi Qing Qian is because of that face of hers, which is similar to Wolf Sacred Dharma's beloved woman. As for me, I didn't take Yi Qing Qian's life. After all, we are sisters, and if I were to kill her, wouldn't it seem that I'm too cold-blooded? So, I upheld my responsibility as a younger sister, and conveniently helped my pitiful eldest sister to test how much true feelings Wolf Sacred Dharma has for her. Madame Yuchi's eyes widened as she understood the meaning in Yi Qing Luo's words. Her facial features turned sinister once again as it was extremely terrifying. Yi Qing Luo, you ruined Qianer's face? Did you ruin Qianer's face? Yi Qing Luo, you'll die a horrible death, you'll die a horrible death. Madame Yuchi wanted to pounce forward, Yiqing Luo retreated a few steps. The old maids held Madame Yuqi down at the right time. It was obvious that the relationship between young matriarch and Madame Yuqi, who had become a prisoner, was like fire and water. These old maids held onto Madame Yuqi's shoulders, as they totally didn't give her any face. Madame Yuqi screamed miserably in pain, as she kept on shouting and cursing. Yiqing Luo looked at the hysterical Madame Yuqi, as her lips curled into a ridiculing arc. She straightened her body and turned around to walk back to Zhang San and Zhang Xi's side. It's all thanks to Second Yinyang for reminding me that old ancestor cannot be absent from the sect head's succession ceremony. Looks like I still have to make a trip to old ancestor's place. Madame Yuqi's eyes were filled with madness when she heard that. Sect master's succession ceremony? Yiqing Luo. Don't even think about it. How could the elder ancestor let you inherit the position of the Three Springs sect's lord? You don't have the right to inherit it. I'm not qualified. Yiqing Luo raised her brows and laughed wantonly. Don't tell me. You think that Yiqing Qian, who joined the Dark Forces, betrayed the Three Springs sect, betrayed the West Continent, and even the entire Nirvana realm is qualified? You. Madame Yuqi was so infuriated that her entire body was trembling. She flopped around in a futile attempt to charge towards Yiqing Luo. Everyone in Three Springs sect is qualified, except you. And he wants to invite the ancestor to attend the succession ceremony? Dream on. This time, the old maids held her tightly. No matter how Madame Yuqi struggled, she couldn't break free from the old maid's restraint. The more she struggled, the more Madame Yuqi's expression became distorted and malevolent. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased slightly. Why did Madame Yuqi keep repeating that she didn't have the right to inherit the sect head? Could it be? What did Madame Yuqi know? This thought made Yiqing Luo's charming eyes shivered. She stretched out her hand and grabbed Madame Yuqi's collar as she suppressed her voice, and questioned her in an extremely cold tone. Madame Yuqi, on what basis do you say that I don't have the right to inherit the sect head? Star. Chapter 2066. Angry. Madame Yuqi's scarlet eyes revealed a complacent smile, to be able to cause Yiqing Luo's emotions to fluctuate. Do you want to know why you don't have the right? Ha 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 ha. Her face was filled with maniacal laughter. Do you know why you're obviously the Yi family's daughter, but for the past 15 years, you've been living worse than a servant? Do you want to know the real cause of your mother's death? Ha ha ha. Beg me and I'll tell you. Every sentence Madame Yuqi said, Yiqing Luo's expression turned gloomier, especially when she mentioned her mother. Yiqing Luo's eyes instantly turned extremely deep and gloomy, her pair of charming eyes as though it was covered with frost. Her 5 fingers abruptly moved upwards, clasping Madame Yuqi's neck. Her slender fingers were like jade, so fair that it seemed to be emitting a thick chill. Tell me clearly what you know. Yiqing Luo's eyes were cold as she spat out her words coldly. Madame Yuqi laughed maniacally. Even though the strength on her neck was tightening, she didn't have any fear. Kill me. If you kill me, you'll never know those secrets from back then. Pa. Yiqing Luo gave Madame Yuqi a slap. You want to die? I forgot to tell you. My master is the ghost doctor. I have 100 ways to make you wish for death. Not talking right. I have ways to make you talk. She clasped Madame Yuqi's neck, turning her head to look at Zhang San and Zhang Xi. Bring Madame Yuqi to the dungeon. Use whatever punishment you want, just leave her with one breath. Yiqing Luo said as she looked towards Madame Yuqi. Her face was no longer as frosty as before. On the contrary, her eyes curved into a smile. Her long and narrow eyes flashed with a piercingly cold glint. She took out a pill from the profound phoenix ring, smiling as she said, Second madam, don't worry. I will absolutely not let you die so easily. Take this pill, I guarantee. As long as you can still breathe, even if your 4 limbs are broken, and your internal organs are ruptured, you will absolutely be able to hang on to your last breath, maintaining your best conscious state. As she was smiling, she sent the pill into Madame Yuqi's mouth. Yiqing Luo, how dare you? You dare. Hearing the effects of this medicinal pill, Madame Yuqi struggled, not willing to eat that medicinal pill. This kind of medicinal pill, if it was really eaten, it was an experience worse than death. Yi Qing Luo, you heartless slut. Do you want to know? Good. I'm telling you. Pa. Before Madame Yuchi finished her words, suddenly, a gust of wind from her palm struck Madame Yuchi's face. Madame Yuchi's body was like a kite with a broken string, flying out from Yi Qing Luo's palm as she flew backwards. Ah! A blood-curdling scream rang out. Madame Yuchi landed heavily on the fake mountain and spat out a large mouthful of blood. Yi Qing Luo didn't bother to look at Madame Yuchi, but turned her gaze towards the direction where the palm wind came from. In front of him was a frail old man with a walking stick. He was supported by a woman who looked to be in her 30s as he walked over shakily. Ancestor, Zhang San, Zhang Si and the rest of the guards, when they saw the old man, hurriedly cupped their fists in respect. Old Madame's face was gloomy, as she couldn't conceal her anger from head to toe. Chapter 2067. Madame Yuchi clutched her chest as she opened her mouth and stared fiercely at old Madame. The minute she opened her mouth, she spat out a large mouthful of blood with a wah sound. Yi Qing Luo's slender brows rose as her lips curled into a smile, as she smiled lightly. So it's old Madame. Qing Luo was still exclaiming in shock earlier, on who released such a powerful energy. You're indeed old Madame. Only old Madame is able to release such a powerful, vast and majestic energy. A series of bootlicking was done without her face turning red, or her heart skipping a beat. Old Madame's expression turned gloomier and gloomier. She looked coldly at Yi Qing Luo, as the raging storm in her eyes was extremely clear to Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo continued smiling. I'm just about to look for old Madame to discuss about the patriarch's succession ceremony. I already know about this matter. Old Madame replied in a hoarse voice, as her tone was icy cold. Yi Qing Luo nodded her head smilingly. So old Madame will be present for tomorrow's succession ceremony, right? Yes, the succession of patriarch is such a huge matter. As the only elder in Three Springs sect, I will naturally be present. Old Madame said every word with extreme force. A pair of malicious eyes flashed with a sharp cold glint. Yi Qing Luo's smile grew even more radiant as she looked at Madame Yuchi, who was sprawled on the ground, not knowing if she was dead or alive. Earlier second aunt said that old Madame will definitely not take part in the succession ceremony, and even said that I'm not qualified to become Three Springs sect's patriarch. She walked towards old Madame, as she revealed an aggrieved expression. Old Madame, I'm the young patriarch appointed by father. Am I really not qualified to become the patriarch? Old Madame's 5 fingers, which were holding onto the walking stick, suddenly tightened. The back of her shriveled and frail hand started to show green veins, because of her tightened strength. Her gaze became increasingly malicious, like a sharp blade, as though it could pierce through one's heart anytime. Yi Qing Luo didn't ask further, as she maintained her aggrieved expression, waiting for old Madame's reply. From old Madame's expression, Yi Qing Luo could tell. About 80% of what Madame Yuchi said was true. What she guessed in her heart was not far from the truth. After a while, the elder ancestor raised his chin slightly and said word by word, You are the young master of the Three Springs sect, which means that you are the future master of the Three Springs sect. If you don't have the qualifications, who does? With old Grand Madame's words, I'm much more assured. Yi Qing Luo grinned as she smiled like a blossoming flower. Her pair of charming eyes curved into crescents as she smiled, looking extremely alluring. Old ancestor only felt that the bright smile was extremely eye-piercing. She tightened her grip on her walking stick and restrained the restlessness in her heart. I'm old. I'll leave the succession ceremony to you young people. As he spoke, he patted the woman next to him. Baiming clan, this old one is tired. Baiming's eyelashes trembled slightly. She raised her head and gathered her courage. She looked at the Grand Elder and said in a low voice, Grand Elder, please allow me to have a word with 7th young mistress. The patriarch frowned. Baiming's back was straight, his hands crossed, and he was extremely nervous. Go. After a moment of silence, the elder ancestor agreed. Old Madam was clear on what Biming clan wanted to do. After getting the old madam's permission, Biming clan's eyes lit up as she immediately turned around and walked quickly towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. Seventh young mistress, I have something to tell you. Biming clan took a few steps and jogged to the front of Yi Qing Luo. Chapter 2068. Third Madam, what's the matter? Yi Qing Luo asked despite knowing the answer. Madam Biming bit her lower lip as she clenched her handkerchief tightly and suddenly knelt down towards Yi Qing Luo. I know that I shouldn't beg 7th Miss for this matter, but other than begging 7th Miss, there's no other way. Yi Qing Luo leaned towards the right, avoiding Madam Biming's kowtow. Madam Biming stubbornly knelt on the ground as she raised her head and looked at Yi Qing Luo sincerely. 7th Miss, I beg you to spare second young master. He's just lost his mind for a moment. Indeed, it was to plead for Yi Fengru. Madam Biming's petite body was trembling, but she still knelt upright. I know that second young master's sins are grave, killing his father to force the abdication, forcefully snatching the position of sect master, and even led Three Springs sect to join the dark forces, almost ruining Three Springs sect's illustrious name. But I'm second young master's birth mother. No matter what second young master's sins are, I can't bear to see him die because of this. So, I boldly beg 7th Miss to spare second young master's life. I'll do anything to repay your kindness. Madam Biming knew that Yi Fengru's sins were unpardonable, but as a mother, she still hoped that her son would be able to live on. Yi Qing Luo's eyes drooped as she looked at the resolute Madam Biming and shook her head. Third Madam, in that great battle with the dark forces, the rebels will be dealt with by the new monarch. I have no right to interfere. As long as 7th Miss is willing to spare second young master, the monarch will definitely spare his life. Madam Biming's thoughts were exquisite, so how would she not understand that in order for Yi Fengru to live, Yi Qing Luo had to nod her head. The new monarch was able to ascend the throne under such circumstances. Behind the scenes, it was definitely Yi Qing Luo who recommended him. As long as Yi Qing Luo opened her mouth, Lung Fenging would definitely give her face. Third Madam's deep feelings for your son indeed touched me. Yi Qing Luo's emotions didn't fluctuate at all. She indifferently looked at Lady Biming. But Third Inyang, have you ever thought that because of Zi Qianqian's death, Yi Fengru has been so deeply provoked that he doesn't even recognize his own family? He's even willing to lay his hands on his brothers who have gone through life and death with him, and the woman who has loved him for so many years. If I let him go, as the main culprit behind Zi Qianqian's death, what should I do if he wants to kill me again? This, Lord Biming was startled. If I let him go once, what about the second, third, and fourth time? Third Inyang, you are very smart and know how to analyze the pros and cons. I don't have that much energy to deal with his repeated assassination attempts. Yi Qing Luo's words were very direct. If Third Mistress has not confirmed that Yi Fengru's consciousness has been awakened, I will not let him go. Lady Biming was startled again. Immediately, her eyes brightened, and she kowtowed to the ground with force and wild joy. Thank you, 7th young Mississippi. I will definitely try my best. If I really cannot wake up the second young master, I will definitely not pester 7th young Miss anymore. She had made the right bet. Although there were rumors in the outside world that the 7th Miss was cold and merciless, bloodthirsty and murderous, but she could tell 7th young Miss's heart was actually very soft. As long as she was willing to put in the effort, she would be able to move 7th young Mississippi. 7th young Miss would definitely relent. Get up, old madam is tired. Go take care of old madam. You still have to work hard for tomorrow's grand ceremony. Yi Qing Luo waved her hand. Lady Biming thanked her profusely before she returned to old madam's side. Old madam took a look at the delighted Lady Biming and looked at Yi Qing Luo with a complicated expression, but she didn't open her mouth. Chapter 2069. When the voices of the two people disappeared from his sight, Yi Qing Luo looked at those old women again. Didn't you hear old madam's words? Secondinyang has already gone mad. Take her back to the courtyard, and take good care of her. Yes, young lord. The old women lowered their heads and accepted the order. Zhang San warned sternly, tomorrow is the clan head succession ceremony. Be careful not to let Secondinyang's gossips disturb the guests attending the ceremony. The old maids carried Madame Yuqi away with trepidation. Zhang Si leaned over to Yi Qing Luo's side, and after suppressing the words for a long time, he finally spoke out. Young sect master, second young master he has already gone mad. How could you agree to third madam? They were at the scene of the battle. They had all seen with their own eyes that Yi Fengru had fallen into the demonic path because of a lady who had betrayed the Nirvana realm and madly wanted to kill Yi Qing Luo. But Yi Qing Luo was actually willing to give Bei Ming clan a chance to awaken Yi Fengru. If Yi Fengru really got over that hurdle in his heart and dispelled the idea of becoming enemies with Yi Qing Luo would definitely release him. As for Yi Fengru, who had killed his own father and forced the abdication of the Three Springs sect, he had even led the Three Springs sect to join the dark forces. The people of the Three Springs sect were filled with resentment. Yi Qing Luo smiled faintly. I don't put him in my eyes, he's just another trouble. Moreover, I've given him this chance. If he doesn't cherish it, I won't show any mercy. Recalling the way Yi Qing Luo treated Madame Yuqi earlier, Zhang San and Zhang Si shivered. Cough cough. It seemed like their young sect master was someone who could be persuaded by reason, but not cowed by force. The Three Springs sect's succession ceremony was about to take place. In just a few hours, the news had spread like wildfire. The Three Springs sect, which had been quiet for many days, finally became lively. It was a grand and extravagant investigation. Those who sent invitations sent invitations. He was preparing for the program. There were all kinds of things. Although they were a little impatient, they were still prepared in an orderly manner. The matter of Three Springs sect's young matriarch Yi Qing Luo saving the West Continent was spread widely by the commoners present. Hence, on such a festive day, the common people were also dressed in red and green, decorated with lanterns and ribbons. There was also the spontaneous festive gongs and drums of the people. All of them were praising Yi Qing Luo for her huge contribution to the West Continent. On the day of the grand ceremony, the people rushed to the Three Springs sect manor early in the morning, surrounding it in 3 layers. The commoners raised the red flags in their hands, with Yi Qing Luo's name written on it. It was so exaggerated that Yi Qing Luo was shocked. The Three Springs sect was decorated to look extremely rich and noble. The red carpet was laid out along the way, and flower petals were scattered all over the ground. All kinds of big shots entered the Three Springs sect one after another. All kinds of rare treasures were sent to the Three Springs sect. Before dawn, the Three Springs sect was already bustling with activity. Early in the morning, Yi Qing Luo opened her eyes amidst this hubbub. She stretched her body. When the maid outside heard the noise, she immediately asked if he wanted to wash up. Yi Qing Luo got up and washed up simply. Outside the door, a few maids carried a navy blue brocade robe, looking extremely dignified. On the brocade robe, there was a large Yi character embroidered. This is the patriarch's robe that old madam ordered me to send over. I will help young matriarch change into it. The maid said respectfully. Yi Qing Luo stared at that set of brocade robe, and could tell at one glance that it was specially made according to her figure. Apparently, this robe had been prepared a long time ago. Looking at the workmanship, it was definitely not something that could be completed in a day or two. Chapter 2070. The maids brought the brocade robe forward. Yi Qing Luo hurriedly received that brocade robe. I'll do it myself, all of you can leave now. The maids couldn't persuade Yi Qing Luo, and could only remind her on the details of how to wear the brocade robe before leaving. The place where the inheritance ceremony was held was in Three Springs sect's biggest garden. Under the meticulous decorations of several hundred maids, the garden was filled with flowers, and it was extremely beautiful. In the middle of the garden, there was a high stage which could stand 300 people, with a long table and a few armchairs. And right in front of the high stage was a sacrificial altar. A huge heavenly joss stick was burning with green smoke. By the side of the sacrificial altar stood a white-robed old man who looked like an immortal, with his eyes closed as he rested, with an unfathomable attitude. Surrounding the high stage were rows of exquisite delicacies, desserts, etc. long tables. Those were the seats to receive VIPs. Three Springs Sect was the West Continent's competition. Three Springs Sect's change of ownership to the West Continent was an extremely joyous matter. In the entire garden, there were at least 10 famous and promising people from various powerhouses. Even those powerhouses who usually had enmity with each other, when they came to Three Springs Sect, they all laughed off their enmity, not creating any trouble in Three Springs Sect. It was almost midnight, which was around 9 in the morning. Three Springs Sect's garden was already filled with guests. Even the representatives from other continents who came later squeezed together, with a group of people, wanting to join in on the liveliness. The bustling garden was bustling with noise. Suddenly they heard a notification. The monarch has arrived. Following that, they saw Lung Fengying dressed in a bright yellow dragon robe as he slowly walked over. He only brought along a eunuch, who was holding an exquisite jade box in his hand. When the crowd saw that, they all stood up to welcome him. Greetings to the monarch. The people present here were basically existences that could shake the entire Western continent 3 times with a casual shake. There was no need for them to kneel down when they saw Lung Fengying. Lung Fengying waved his hand warmly. Everyone, please don't be so courteous. Today's main venue is Three Springs Sect, and I am only here as a friend to congratulate Qing Luo on inheriting Three Springs Sect. The crowd started to laugh softly. Lung Fengying's words made everyone's hearts beat like drums. Anyone with a discerning eye knew the reason why Lung Fengying was able to become the new monarch was all because of Yi Qing Luo's blessings. If it wasn't for Yi Qing Luo, Lung Fengying might still be dispirited in the Crown Prince Palace. Looking at how Lung Fengying only brought along a father-in-law to attend Yi Qing Luo's succession ceremony, it could be seen that the relationship between the new sovereign and the future sovereign of the Three Springs Sect was not ordinary. After all, a monarch is a monarch, and a subject is a subject. A monarch is the son of heaven, so there is no need for him to lower himself and force himself to be friends with the 7th girl. On the high platform, an old voice broke the guesses of the crowd. Everyone's gaze immediately followed the sound. On the high platform, the luxuriously dressed old ancestor had a gloomy expression on his face, as though he was unattainable. Although old ancestors' words seemed to be elevating Lung Fengying and belittling their Three Springs Sect, saying that they were unable to climb up to the royal family. However, his words were too rude. Even if it was Lung Fengying at this moment, his expression was also rather ugly. He coughed dryly and said in a gentle voice, "Ancestor, have you misunderstood something?" Ian. Chapter 2071. Old Grand Madam's unyielding attitude, no matter who it was, would be able to tell the deep meaning behind it. Lung Fengying stopped the words he was about to say. The expression on his face was still gentle and calm, but beneath his eyes, there was an indistinct sharp glint. This old Grand Madam. What did she mean? Why? It seemed as though she wanted to draw a line between the royal family and Yi Qing Luo. Old Grand Madam's eyes are really sharp, to be able to see through the sovereign's true thoughts at one look. Suddenly, a sweet smiling voice was heard from the backyard of the garden. Yi Qing Luo strolled leisurely with her hands behind her back, as she slowly walked over from the backyard's small path. That leisurely look totally didn't show the solemnity and nervousness of her inheriting the position of Three Springs Sect's sovereign. Yi Qing Luo's dressing today was slightly more formal. She was still wearing a red long dress, but today, she had put in quite a bit of effort on the long dress. Different from usual, it was so simple and elegant that there was no pattern at all. The red long dress which she wore today was adorned with silver scales, sparkling with a dazzling brilliance. Her long black hair was tied up simply, and a simple cherry blossom jade hairpin was inserted diagonally. It looked extremely elegant and quick-witted. Standing on the stage, they instantly felt an extremely majestic aura being released from the young lady. Everyone's mind instantly surfaced four words. 9. Heavens! Xian. Female. You. Why aren't you wearing the sovereign's attire which I have prepared for you? Old Grand Madam saw Yi Qing Luo, and suddenly slammed the table as she stood up, as her brows creased into a bundle. Yi Qing Luo tilted her head as she gave an evil and flamboyant smile. I feel that wearing my own clothes is more comfortable. Presumptuous. Old Grand Madam's face was filled with anger. Usually you throw a tantrum, and I can indulge you. But today is such a solemn day, and you're still so presumptuous. Yi Qing Luo's brows rose. Facing the raging Old Grand Madam, her lips curled slightly. When has Old Grand Madam ever indulged me? 7th girl. Old Grand Madam seemed as though she had not expected Yi Qing Luo to embarrass her in front of so many people. Yi Qing Luo dug her ears. Old Grand Ancestor, I'm just beside you and I can hear you. There's no need to shout so loudly, leave your voice. Later on, you still need to express your feelings towards the new sovereign. The old ancestor was so angry that his entire body was trembling. The hand that was holding onto the walking stick also had green veins popping out. Lady Biming stood at the side and immediately took the old ancestor's arm. She said gently, Old ancestor, I know that you haven't been able to rest well for a few nights in order to prepare the sect leader's attire for Miss 7. After all, Miss 7 is only a 15-year-old child. How would she like such dark-colored clothes? Please don't bother with a child. Her voice was not loud, but it was not soft either. It explained the current situation in an appropriate manner. Ancestor, today is a big day for the Three Springs sect. Why don't you just smile? Don't look so serious. You're scaring the juniors, Biming advised warmly. The old ancestor's expression became more restrained. The hand that was holding onto the walking stick tightened. Following that, she raised her head and looked at Yi Qing Luo as her gaze became gentler. Forget it, forget it. I'm old and don't understand the colors that you youngsters like. Since 7th girl likes to wear this attire, then wear this attire to inherit the sovereign's position. Saying that, she returned to her seat with Lady Biming's support. Yi Qing Luo couldn't be bothered to haggle with the old Grand Madam. Chapter 2072. Yi Qing Luo's words caused ripples in everyone's hearts. In the eyes of outsiders? Outsiders? Earlier when she said that Lung Fengying was barely friends with Yi Qing Luo, it was from Old Grand Madam. Yi Qing Luo, this outsider, was she referring to? Old Grand Madam? TSK. Why did it feel that today's Three Springs sect patriarch succession ceremony wasn't as simple as what they had imagined? Somehow, the amount of information was a little too much. Lung Fengying stood up as he wasn't anxious nor impatient as he laughed warmly. My and Qing Luo's brotherhood had already been set when Qing Luo just entered the Heavenly Academy. You're my best brother, so how would I possibly force myself on you? His words were sincere and gentle, especially when he spoke to Yi Qing Luo. He used I to address himself, which meant that he had let go of his monarch position to interact with Yi Qing Luo. Even if it was the previous Three Springs sect patriarch Yi Tianquang, he probably wouldn't receive such courteous treatment from the previous monarch. This was called barely treating Yi Qing Luo as a friend. The two of them were obviously very good brothers. Not to mention a man and a woman. There was no such thing as pure friendship. Not to mention how the crowd didn't suspect that the so-called brotherhood between Yi Qing Luo and Lung Fengying actually had a hidden meaning. With such an outstanding man like the Overlord around, the other men were all scum, alright? Unless Yi Qing Luo was blind, which was why she didn't want the Overlord to have an affair with Lung Fengying in the dark. So these two absolutely had a clean brotherhood relationship that couldn't be any cleaner. Yi Qing Luo knew that right from the start when Lung Fengying entered the garden. He had lowered his stance and said in public that they were friends. But he wanted to make use of her current rallying power. Lung Fengying had just ascended the throne not long ago, whereas Yi Qing Luo was now the West Continent's hero, a famous person in the West Continent. Only by borrowing Yi Qingluo's current power would he be able to stabilize his own position. This kind of use, if it was in the past, Yi Qingluo would have hated it. But now that she was so cooperative, she also had her own plans. She curved her charming eyes as her gaze landed on the jade box, which the eunuch was holding behind Lung Fengying. Following that, her face revealed a crafty smile. Then how can I see your sincerity? Lung Fengying took a look at eunuch behind him. The eunuch quickly stepped forward and raised the jade box high above his head with both hands. In a shrill voice he said, "In order to celebrate 7th Miss Ye's ascension as the new leader of the Three Springs sect, the monarch has specially presented this to 7th Miss Yi as a congratulatory gift." "Oh, what congratulatory gift?" Yi Qingluo raised her brows with a smile that didn't look like a smile. Lung Fengying narrowed his eyes as he acutely sensed that Yi Qingluo's reaction was a little strange. As though Yi Qingluo had long known what the congratulatory gift he had prepared was. He suppressed the strange feeling in his heart and waved his hand, indicating for his eunuch to open the jade box. The eunuch accepted the order and respectfully opened the jade box. The monarch has specially gifted the tiger emblem to the 7th Miss of the night to show his sincerity. The crowd burst into an uproar. Even the old ancestor could not sit still. Elder ancestor shuddered and slammed the table. She stood up abruptly and stared at the box in her eunuch's hand. "What? Tiger Tally? Monarch, how could you give such a precious thing to the Tiger Tally? That was something that could summon the Western Continent's royal army." He gifted the Tiger Talisman to Yi Qingluo. If Yi Qingluo had the intention to rebel, then she would be able to occupy the Western Continent in minutes. Was there something wrong with Monarch's brain? Everyone couldn't believe that Monarch actually took such a huge risk to gift the Tiger Tally to Yi Qingluo. Chapter 2073. Only one piece. That was already very heaven-defying, alright? 1 Springs sect and 200,000 imperial soldiers. If Yi Qingluo wanted to rebel, it was just a matter of minutes. Lung Fengying smiled warmly. Is Qingluo satisfied with this sincerity? Yi Qingluo smiled lightly and nodded, satisfied. Lung Fengying gave him a look. The eunuch held the jade box and was about to step forward. Yi Qingluo smiled as she shook her head. Don't be in a hurry to send it over. Everything shall wait till after the succession ceremony. Eunuch stopped in his tracks as he turned back to look at Lung Fengying. Seeing Lung Fengying nod his head, Eunuch then kept the jade box and returned to Lung Fengying's side. Because Lung Fengying was expressing his sincerity, the atmosphere of the ceremony gradually livened up. After Yi Qingluo greeted everyone, the sound of a gong could be heard from the altar. The old man who was meditating like an old monk suddenly opened his eyes and shouted loudly. The auspicious time to worship the heavens has arrived. Young sect master, please move to the altar and carry out the heavenly worship ceremony. A deep voice suddenly exploded in the crowd like a clap of thunder. Everyone was shocked. Yi Qingluo picked her ears as she gave an impatient look at the elderly man as her lips twitched. We're not far from each other. Can't you lower your voice? The old man was expressionless and extremely serious. Young sect master, please move to the altar and carry out the heaven offering ceremony. Yi Qingluo's lips twitched. However, he still walked towards the altar. Behind him, the old ancestor leaned on his walking stick, his face dark and terrifying, his malicious eyes filled with a piercingly cold light. Watching as Yi Qingluo approached the altar step by step, the old ancestor seemed to be unable to restrain himself any longer and was about to charge forward. Lady Biming grabbed the elder ancestor's hand in time and said in a low voice, Elder ancestor, please think twice before you act. Miss Seven is no longer the same as before. If the elder ancestor insists on stopping Miss Seven's succession ceremony and provokes Miss Seven's retaliation, the consequences will be unimaginable. The old ancestor's footsteps stopped. Old ancestor, don't think about anything. Just quietly watch as 7th young mistress becomes the Three Springs sect master. I can say with certainty that as long as Seventh Miss becomes the sect leader of the Three Springs sect, our Three Springs sect will definitely become the leader of the four great sects in the future. Biming knew the old ancestor's state of mind very well. Every word that he said was right into the old ancestor's heart. The elder ancestor gripped his walking stick tightly and finally sat back in his seat, towards the small movements behind her. How could Yi Qing Luo, who had an extremely strong sense of perception, not sense it? Hearing the sound of old Grand Madam sitting down, Yi Qing Luo laughed coldly in her heart. This Biming woman was truly intelligent. She had seen through everything so clearly. It was no wonder that such an intelligent woman could grasp the heart of the old ancestor so firmly within a short period of time, when she was the head of the family. It was precisely because of Biming's intelligence. The Biming clan was also very smart, and would not choose to become enemies with Yi Qing Luo. He walked to the altar. Yi Qing Luo raised her eyes and looked at the solemn old man beside her. This old man was an elder of the Three Springs sect. It was said that he had lived in the Three Springs sect for 500 years. Other than the important matters of the Three Springs sect, this sect elder would absolutely not appear. The Three Springs sect's sect master's succession ceremony had always been presided over by the sect elder, the so-called heaven offering ceremony, and it was because of the legends regarding the four great sections. The four great sects were the legends of the God clan's tomb guardians. Therefore, the sect elder had to ask the heavens for an answer during the sect master's heaven offering ceremony. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.